Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Brickyard, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Celebrating its 113th year as the sentimental home of American motorsport, Carl Fisher's creation does far more than host 33 screaming Indy cars driving 500 miles at a time, clockwise once a year. Since the turn of the century, its infield road courses hosted Formula One, MotoGP, and now NASCAR as well. And now the Ray Esports Racing League takes to the latest revision of this 14-turn, 2.6-mile road course for its Season 7 runoffs. Brought to you by Alliance Autosport, Spec Racer Sports, and Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with DJ Clark in the commentary booth and Jonathan Grabowski in the virtual production trailer. And after a 9-week season that saw our drivers compete at some of the most storied tracks in the United States and 3 of the most popular club racing classes, Spec Miata, Spec Racer Ford, and Formula 4, tonight they'll lay it all on the line to be named Runoffs champions. And so, welcome to the Captain's House. DJ, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, I am fantastic. Anytime that I get to visit my old hometown track of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I am most certainly in a good mood. And you mentioned it in your little intro there, Greg, obviously running the newly revised layout here, brought to iRacing about a year ago or so. It is absolutely fantastic to see and really and truly create some great racing in all of our 3 classes.
It does. Now the Ray Esports Racing League was here for the runoffs a number of years ago, much like the Sports Car Club of America was here both in 2017 and also in 2021. But when we raced here at the runoffs, we used the older layout that used turn 6 and 6 alpha before turning onto the Holman Straight. Those have been removed from this layout. You've got a much longer, much straighter run down the Holman Straight. The chicane, which we see our drivers led by Morgan Burkhardt, Bean Forster coming up to right now, has also been reprofiled quite a bit. That first entry in over by, I think we're calling it turn 8, much more of a 90-degree bend as opposed to something more along the lines of about a 65 or 75-degree bend to get into it. So much more difficult. And then more importantly, I think, instead of having what used to be the longest straightaway in Formula One, making the run out of turn 11 and all the way around through what was IndyCar turn 2, through IndyCar turn 1, and then running all the way down the front straight there in a clockwise manner. Now we have our drivers. They will come in as they come through IndyCar Turn 2, they'll actually make a right-hand turn and head up towards the pit-in area, but it introduces 2 more 90-degree turns that they have before they come back out onto the oval. It also will lower the speeds down, I think, a little bit as they come down into Turn 1, DJ.
Yeah, it certainly will. It'll keep things a little bit lower, and that's a good thing because Turn 1 is absolutely a flashpoint, whether it's the start of the race or really on any lap. The track's relatively wide, and then it narrows up there coming down into the corner, and it's the one bit of elevation change that really exists on the circuit coming off of the banking into that infield section. And whether it's just a simple matter of spinning up the rear tires a little bit, or it's a matter of getting into a little bit of, well, argy-bargy with the driver next to you, one way or the other, you've got to watch out for Turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely you do, DJ. All right, so let's give you a rundown of what the format is for tonight's race. Typically, in the Esports Racing League during our regular season, we have 2 20-minute races, but tonight it is the winner-take-all runoffs. We're going to have all 3 of our classes. We're starting off, as you can see, here with the Formula 4s, or the iRacing IR04s. Then we're going to have Spec Racer Ford, and then we're going to finish up with Spec Miata. And each one of these classes, they're going to have a 15-minute qualifying session, and then rather than a 20-minute race as we do during the regular season, each of our classes going to have a 25-minute sprint race to the checkered flag. And so this unofficial SCCA iRacing league has a number of drivers that we've seen throughout the regular season, but we've got some new drivers that are joining us just for this event. And going to the top of the leaderboard right now here in qualifying, Kevin Furline. And I was telling DJ and Jonathan about Kevin a little bit before the broadcast that the last time I had seen and spoken to Kevin was actually about 10 years ago. Kevin has, for a good portion of his adult life, been ensconced in Sports Car Club of America, Formula Car racing, in the Mid-Atlantic and in the Northeast, and he was always a stalwart at the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series events on the East Coast, many times behind the wheel, but many times supporting, coaching, and managing other drivers as well. So good to see Kevin out, and he has already gone to the top of the leaderboard, although his advantage quite slim right now, DJ, about 9/1000ths of a second over Megan Overstreet, who is also new to the Ray Esports Racing League, but not to the different Ray Esports leagues and series that we have on the iRacing platform.
No, not at all. As there we see Beans Forrester being able to put in a time as well. Yeah, good to see both Kevin and Megan in the grid here. And watching Beans right now in that Tune 31 as Yoshikawa jumps up to the top of the charts. I think Beans, though, has the right idea here. In order to get the best time around the circuit, I think you want to try to use a little bit of the draft going down that long front straightaway. It's not as long as it used to be, as you said, Greg, but certainly long enough that being able to tuck up behind another car is certainly going to help you gain a couple of tenths.
Yeah, be able to tuck up behind that other car and then be able to drop into the infield unencumbered and hopefully not held up by that car ahead, be able to use the advantage that you may have over some of the other drivers through that infield, and then perhaps pick the draft up, if you can, down the home and straight down towards the chicane here, where we see Forster going in solo. So let's do this, DJ, real quick. We're now about just about 6 minutes, a little bit less than halfway through this 15-minute qualifying. Let's very quickly here, since we were talking about Beans Forster, recognize our Season 7, our Fall Tour champions and medal winners in Formula 4. Beans Forster was our Season 4 champion in the class with 117 points, takes the win and takes the championship over Formula car driver in real life, Justin Huffman, by 15 points. Huffman with 102 points, and then John Vogel, another 15 points back from there with 87. So those were your gold, silver, and bronze medal finishers. Then Deacon Greenfield, Joaquin Effinger, rounding out the top 5. Should be noted that I believe Bean's primarily known for his virtual car racing, whereas Justin Huffman races in the Sports Car Club of America, a Formula Enterprises 2 machine, and he's done quite well at the National Championship runoffs before. He's, as we mentioned, he came home with the silver medal. He's not here racing with us here this evening. Both he and his son Jameson are up working the skis up in Killington this weekend. Hope they have a good time with that. And then John Vogel, who's a Spec Racer Ford racer in real life, coming home with that bronze medal. So good to see some strong running here, and a lot of regulars here in this class. As we mentioned, Deacon Greenfield, and looking to see if Greenfield is in the field here tonight. He is currently sitting right around the middle of this 13 car field, currently qualified 7th, and looks like he had a little issue with that particular lap, so that his 4th flying lap going to be invalidated. He's going to have to make another run at it, and certainly not going to have a great amount of speed there coming off of that spin right before he comes onto the front straight. And I would be surprised if he's able to improve on the next flying lap, given that run he's got.
Yeah, it's going to certainly put him down there a little bit, and that highlights one of the other danger areas on this circuit. Coming down through 12 and 13, not only is 12 an area for a little bit of a surprise attack for some drivers. I've seen plenty of drivers be able to get a move down into that right-hander, but as you come down through 13, and really a lot through most of the slow-speed corners on this circuit, you've got to be very, very soft on the throttle. You can't absolutely floor it coming out of here. I suspect that may be what happened there to Deacon coming out of 13, that he just got on the throttle a little too aggressive, spun the rear tires, and that was enough to send him around.
Yeah, if it looks like this track is washboard flat, well, it's because it's washboard flat. There's definitely a good amount of grip on the oval. The infield not quite as grippy, and as DJ mentioned, probably the only elevation change that you have at this track, other than the banking itself, is when you come down into turn 1, as we see our provisional pole sitter Morgan Burkhardt doing right now. As you make that hard braking maneuver down into turn 1, there's a slight little drop off of the oval down into the infield, a little bit of a compression, and then almost as quickly as it drops, it raises back up again and can definitely unsettle a car. But you definitely have to watch here. The thing is also, at least out on the infield, or probably not in the infield, but on that turn off of the banking down into those 2 final corners over by like turn 12 and turn 13, DJ, there's some grouping on the oval, primarily to give the Indy cars grip when they are going around during the big race. But it can also affect these cars as they're trying to turn back into that last little quasi infield section. And definitely get the car unsettled. The other part of that is, the drivers are just coming off of, off of what is banking, and the track is not completely flat when they have to turn in for those final little corners.
No, it's certainly not, and it's one of the things about this circuit. You look at it from above, you sort of look at a topographical map, as it were, and it looks pretty simple. But the truth of the matter is it's really not. The IMS road course here has done a fantastic job of really presenting multiple types of corners to throw drivers off, and whether it's SCCA coming here, or whether it's the 8 hours of Indianapolis, or what soon will be the Battle of the Brickyard, there are plenty of series that are making this road course a real destination on their schedule. Yes. NASCAR as well. And it's really kind of fantastic to see for IMS getting known for turning right every now and again. It's
great to see. Of course, I think everybody got a real whiff of what the infield is like here when NASCAR was here this last season, and we saw them bounding over curbs, or in some cases going and lifting up the curbing as their under trays would go through the little chicane right over here. The second part of this chicane, as we watch Deacon Greenfield, the neat thing here is that IMS can provide different curbing types for the different types of series. So you'll see here for the Formula cars, obviously, and for tonight with the Ray Sports Racing, a little flatter going in there than what the Indy cars with the bolt-on curbing encountered. But yeah, they've done a great job. You've got a lot of, for example, in this little chicane area here, where you've got decreasing radius turns that then open up, and and certainly some of these high-speed sweepers, because of how flat the track surface is, it really does mean that you have to work on setup, and you can't, it's one thing to have a low drag setup to be quick on some of these straightaways here, but being able to keep the rear end underneath you is critically important, as we see there as Yoshikawa gives a little bit of a wiggle through one of the corners.
Yeah, just a little bit of one there, but he's going to be able to get back onto the loud pedal. Let's see if that's going to be an improvement time here from Yoshikawa. Comes across the line. That was a 1:26.281, so not an improvement there. Got about 2.5 minutes left to go to try to get an improvement, though, and maybe move up into first or second.
There you go. And so our provisional pole sitter, Morgan Burkhardt, he's taking his car back to the pits, and he is currently sitting on that, what we'll call it a 125 flat. We'll spot him the extra 0.02 of a second there. Megan Overstreet, who has been racing quite strongly in the Weekend Warriors Formula V and also Spec Racer Ford leagues. Her first time here joining us on the Ray Sports Racing League. Nice to have her out, as we mentioned. Yoshikawa currently sitting back third in qualifying here, 0.13 of a second back from Overstreet. And then John Vogel, looks like actually Vogel and Yoshikawa might as well be tied there. They are currently 0.05 of a second apart. That's what's separating third and fourth, what would currently make up your second row on the start here. Now, DJ, a couple of quick changes also for this one-off event. During the regular season, when drivers had issues, maybe some contact, whether it be with other drivers or with the walls, we did not offer what iRacing calls a fast repair, which essentially would mean that in the case of a 20-minute race, you could be spending a heck of a lot of time on the pit lane and not really have the ability to get back out there, kind of like real world SCCA sprint racing. But we are giving the drivers a single fast repair tonight, so if there's an issue, the chances of them coming back and taking the win pretty slim, but at least it'll let them get back out and enjoy the race and compete with their fellow drivers, as opposed to having to spend 20 minutes of a 25-minute race on the pit lane.
Yeah, very true. And as you said, it is a very, very long pit lane around here. So if you got to come in to get that spare car, it's pretty much going to be your race done and dusted as they go. And a relatively average pit lane here when it comes to road courses for everything else. A little bit on the wider side for road courses, a little bit narrow when you talk about oval pit lanes, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, nevertheless, not going to want to be having to take that fast repair, obviously, but a good move here by series organizers to just kind of let the fun continue on a little bit.
There we go. And also having a little fun there, we can see Deacon Greenfield still trying to get out of seventh and still having trouble at that one little section coming through 12 and 13, the last couple of corners. He brings the car down the pit lane, and that is where his qualifying is going to end. As we've hit the 15-minute mark, checkered flag is in the air. Last flying laps here for our drivers will count as we're on board right now with Joaquin Effinger, currently sitting 13th in the field, seeing if he can improve upon a 1:29.05. He's currently about 0.03 of a second, pardon me, off of Wayne Buttermore's times as he comes out of the final corners and onto the front straight. And we'll see if on his 8th and final flying lap he can improve. And he turns in a 1:28.60, so he is going to leapfrog Wayne Effinger probably Wayne Buttermore on that final lap. And it looks like Buttermore, he is actually still out on track. We'll have to see if he can improve. But looks like most of our other drivers wrapping things up here for qualifying for our first race.
Yeah, I certainly think so. As now it is time to get everybody ready to go here for 25 minutes of racing around the Brickyard. There you can see the last couple of drivers just finishing up their laps, as it were. I think that's actually John Vogel that we may be seeing. I don't think this is going to be a quick one there for John. No, excuse me, actually was a personal best there.
Yeah, he turns in a 125.484. Does not improve his stock here on the starting grid. He's going to start fourth in that number 4 machine, but his fast lap of the session, as we're waiting here, we should have our drivers going out onto the grid here in just a moment. And here we are. All right, so here is our starting grid for tonight. And DJ, I'll take the first half here. On your front row is going to be Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 machine. Qualifying time, a 125.002. Megan Overstreet, 4.46 hundredths of a second. Off of that time, she's going to start right next to Burkhardt on the outside of row number 1, driving the 044 machine. Nagase Yoshikawa in the number 98 car. He's going to start on the inside of row number 2 with John Vogel. We just saw him finish his last qualifying lap. He's going to start 4th in the number 4 machine. Our Season 7, our Fall Tour season champion, Beans Forster. He's going to start 5th today in the number 231 machine. And Kevin Furline will start in 6th.
In 7th, it's going to be Deacon Greenfield with Andrew Rosencroft to his outside. Series organizer Stevie Ray will start off in 9th with Caleb Pocock to his outside. Then it's going to be Jim Brewster in 11th and Joaquin Effinger in 12th. And bringing up the back of the field here will be Wayne Buttermore in the number 73.
All right, and there you can see that beautiful overhead view over top of the pagoda and the yard of bricks that makes up the start-finish line. We're going to have our drivers head out. We're still waiting for 2 folks to get their cars to the grid. One of them, very important, it's our pole sitter, Morgan Burkhardt, and then John Vogel. Vogel appears. Nagase Yoshikawa now heads off and then comes back. I think we've got some of our drivers probably checking fuel levels before this race, but we're still waiting on our pole sitter, Morgan Burkhardt, who has not appeared yet. He's still got a little bit of time. There he is. Morgan Burkhardt now makes his way to the grid, and we should have our cars rolling off here for their pace lap in just a moment from this beautiful Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 14 turns, 2.6 miles. And so, DJ, as the pace car starts to roll, let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's first race, and that is Alliance Autosport. Based in Columbus, Ohio, they've found success both at the club and professional levels, garnering multiple championships, including 8 SCCA National Championships, 3 SCCA Pro Racing Championships, as well as a USF 2000 National Class Championship. Alliance Autosport's team members are dedicated, hardworking, and they know what it takes to win. Alliance is the SCCA Enterprises Great Lakes Division customer service representative for FE2 and Spec Racer for Gen 3, and their services include arrive and drive packages for both, as well as Trans Am 2. In addition, they offer customer car prep, trackside support, transportation, storage, part sales, data analysis, and hospitality, as well as driver coaching and development. To join our longtime sponsor, Alliance Autosport, on the winning track, check them out at allianceautosport.com. And you can see now as we've got the pace car bringing the field around onto that the second longest straightaway here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Holman Straight. As looks like a few of our drivers we can see here as we're on board with our Season 7 champion Beans Forster. A couple of our drivers, DJ, looks like they may be doing a little bit more dragging the brakes and maybe surging on and off the brakes than the traditional weave to get heat in the tires, heat in the wheels, heat in the brakes.
Well, I think particularly in these IRO4s, that is very, very crucial. Open-wheeler, single-seaters like this, you need to get those tires and those brakes, most particularly, up to temperature. Diving down into Turn 1, we talked about it being a danger zone. If your brakes are not up to snuff by the time you get onto the binders for there, it is a one-way ticket to ask those front tires to lock up on you.
That's it. And as you go down in the turn one, and we'll see it here, is I suspect we're going to see a good portion of the field fanning out on that very wide front straight. Things will narrow up once again as they have to make the 90-degree turn down in the turn one. There's some, I was talking about the curbing and how it's not that high for these races. Probably the most elevated curbing, however, is right at the apex of turn number one. And you know, if you do go deep on the brakes, it narrows up, that turn one section narrows up very, very quickly, as we now have the pace car on the pit lane. Morgan Burkhardt, your pole sitter, has the field in the red, white, and blue number 40 machine. Megan Overstreet in the purple, black, and pink number 044. Right beside him to his left. Then we've got Yoshikawa and Vogel making up row number 2, as we've got 13 cars strong coming down the front straight, waiting for the green flag. And there it is, green flag in the air from Indianapolis. And we already have now, moving down to the inside, John Vogel in the black number 4, as Burkhardt goes to the left. And now Megan Overstreet drops all the way back. She stays all the way driver's left, going to be very cautious going down to turn one. Big brake lock up, huge brake lock up there from, I believe that was John Vogel, and gets into our pole sitter, Morgan Burkhardt, who now has fallen all the way to the back of the field. And was that Vogel? No, that was Megan Overstreet in the 044, as we're now 4 wide going into turn number 3. And Wayne Buttermore is involved. Joaquin Effinger is involved. It looks like Overstreet once again, who may have some damage to that car. But our new leader coming down the Holman Straight for the very first time, it's Deacon Greenfield in the number 36 machine. Yoshikawa running in second. Beans Forster running in third. And then we've got Kevin Furline running in fourth. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened here.
Well, I think it was exactly what we were talking about a little bit, Greg, coming down into the corner, just a big lockup of the brakes there. Coming on in, you can see those front tires lock. You can see them pointed out to the right as they tried to get around, and it's just a simple matter. When the brakes lock like that, you're going to have no grip at all.
Yeah, and so that was Yoshikawa in the other purple car, the purple and black car that came all the way down the inside and got into our pole sitter. And it looked as though Megan Overstreet may have gotten a little bit of damage to the left front suspension as she had clipped Morgan Burkhardt coming through turn one. And you can see there that left front wheel, it's not touching the ground all that much, as she's basically three-wheeling it right now. And you can see that car just doesn't want to turn left as she takes to the pit lane. And I suspect she's going to use up that fast repair. Unfortunate for our outside pole sitter, as Morgan Burkhardt has gone to the pits as well. So both of our front row drivers now sitting on the pit lane, as Deacon Greenfield is your leader. Yoshikawa running in second, now about 2 car lengths back. Beans Forster about 4 car lengths back from there. Then Kevin Furline. And didn't mention Stevie Ray, who started in 9th. He's now up to 5th. The Ray in the Ray Esports Racing League. Want to thank Stevie, as always, for putting together a great league, great series. And we'll see how he makes do tonight, as my understanding is he took some time off from the day job in order to be here and be able to race tonight.
Well, I absolutely love to hear that from Stevie Ray, being able to put in a good time, and I'm sure a gain of 4 positions up into the top 5 will make him a very, very happy customer here at this point. Has a little bit of a gap over Vogel and Wozencroft, and just needs to focus on what is now turning into a fierce scrap up for the lead of this race.
And here we go now, side by side, coming out of the final corner onto the front straight. It's Deacon Greenfield and Beans Forster. Yoshikawa drops behind Greenfield for the moment, then moves up, and now moving to the inside. Kevin Furline trying to decide if he should make it 4 wide. He's going to sit behind Forster as Greenfield and Forster come into turn 1, wheel to wheel. We've got Greenfield to the left, we've got Forster to the right, and then Yoshikawa tries to come underneath Greenfield. Cannot get past that pass made as they come now out of turn 3, go through the chicane and onto the Holman Straight, our new leader. And it's not over yet, though. Here it's Beans Forster, who's got about 1/8 of a car length now over Yoshikawa, coming down all the way down the inside.
And I think here, if I'm Beans, I'm going to try to back out of this a little bit early, but no, he's going to stay in it there. That's going to allow him to hold on to second place. Deacon Greenfield able to move his way up into first, and that was really all precipitated by, Greg, the fact that Beans got a little bit offline coming down through turn 4, and that set him up for a bad run through 5 and 6.
That's right, and so as Forster maybe got out of the throttle a little bit early, as Yoshikawa, who's all the way down the inside, did the same. That allowed Greenfield to retake the lead as they come through the final corners here and back out onto the front straight as they go to complete lap number 3, as both Greenfield and Forster now have opened up about a 4-car length advantage over Yoshikawa and Forster. He's going to make another run at Greenfield now, coming down the front straight. He gets a great run out of the final corner. They are once again wheel to wheel as they come under braking down into turn 1. And Greenfield trying to take that wide set, and you can go a little bit to the left of the white line there, goes very deep into the corner, manages to hold off the 231 machine, but in doing so has allowed Yoshikawa to get back into this battle as Kevin Furline, he's just, he's not giving up any ground to the top 3 here. He just seems to be kind of content sitting back there and watching.
Well, with as aggressive as we've seen these moves out of Yoshikawa, Beans, and Deacon Greenfield here, I've got to think that Furline is in a pretty good position. There's a decent chance that we're going to see a little bit of carnage here if these drivers continue to drive the way that they are, and Furline's going to be the one to be able to pick up the pieces if that happens.
All right, and as they come out of that chicane and onto the Holman Straight, you saw that Greenfield maybe got a little wide. Actually, that was through the second chicane. Maybe Greenfield got a little bit wide, did not get a great run as Forster, though, coming now stays low, stays driver's right as they come through turn 12, but he's going to get pushed to the outside as they come through the final corners. Beans comes right across the nose of Greenfield, and you can see Furline starting to sneak up just a little bit. Should be noted here that Morgan Burkhardt had just run the fastest lap of the race at a 1:26.45. He's sitting back in 11th, and almost as quickly as he did, Megan Overstreet turns in a 1:26.24. She now has the fastest lap of the race as she and Burkhardt are trying their best to make up ground. They are both about a half a lap back from our leaders, as we see right here, as it looks like we might have had an incident down at turn 1, back behind this battle for the lead.
And I think that may have been Stevie Ray here, and indeed it was. Ray down on time and down into 7th place.
All right, let's take a look. I think we've got it queued up, and we'll see what happened to Stevie Ray coming down into turn 1.
Looks like here, just a little bit too much speed into the corner. Rear end didn't want to give him the grip. Maybe a little bit of lock up there on those tires as well, and that was just enough to send him spinning around.
There we go. So we go back live now. And so Stevie Ray, as you mentioned, down in the 7th. Let's go back to this battle for the lead as Beans Forster, just after that spin, had managed to get around Deacon Greenfield. And now that he's clear of the 36 machine, down through that second chicane, he's been able to open up now about a 6-car length advantage. Yoshikawa running in 3rd now, challenges Greenfield as Greenfield gets a little bit loose on the second part of that chicane, and now is going to give up 2nd position to Yoshikawa. Furline now smelling blood. He is right behind the 36. We'll see if he attempts to move going down in the 1. He's going to follow Greenfield, who moves over. Furline now makes it 3 wide. Coming down into turn 1, they've got John Vogel in the 4 machine right behind. Furline goes deep. He's able to make the corner and has a nose up for the moment on Greenfield. When this track switches back to the right, as it does right now over at turn 3, Furline, he's going to now take over 2nd position. John Vogel in the 3rd, but no, Vogel now gets around Yoshikawa, and getting together in the chicane coming onto the Holman Straight. It's Furline, it's Vogel, it's Yoshikawa, it's Greenfield. Yoshikawa in the 98 machine skips through, but that's now going to move Andrew Wozencroft in the 80 machine up into 8th. He's a distant, probably into 3rd. Here, and believe it or not, Stevie Ray, he's back up in the 4th.
My goodness gracious, everything firing off here for these drivers. And right now, Beans Forster looks like he has got the track all to himself up at the front there, as it sounds like we're ready to go back and check out a replay here, Greg.
All right, let's take a look here as our drivers came almost 4 wide out of turn 3. Going into the chicane, it was never going to work as John Vogel nose first into the chicane, comes across the nose of both Furline and Greenfield. Yoshikawa briefly gets caught up in the mess, but is able to escape. He holds on to second position, but as you mentioned now, he is almost 5.5 seconds in arrears of our leader, Beans Forster, who in one moment probably looked in the mirror, saw 4 cars side by side, looked up again, and saw nothing.
Yeah, and look here at the left front wing there of Yoshikawa. That machine is a little bit damaged, and that's really going to hurt him in both areas of this track, whether it's picking up a little bit more drag going down these long straightaways, and it's also going to affect his turn-in the low, medium, and high-speed corners around here. So that car is going to be walking a little bit wounded here at this point.
Yeah, and you can see Wozencroft definitely starting to make up ground. He is about 2.5, almost 3 seconds back from Yoshikawa that last time by. Almost 2 full seconds faster. Of course, Yoshikawa had the incident on the last lap. We'll see what Wozencroft can do if he can make up the ground here. Stevie Ray, after his earlier incident, his earlier spin, almost 5 seconds in arrears of Wozencroft. So Wozencroft certainly not going to have the advantage of the draft in either direction. You can see there as Stevie Ray comes out of turn 2, the distance between he and the 80 car.
Yeah, it's a pretty big gap here at this point, and both incidents on the first lap and on lap 7 really causing this field to spread out. It's going to be a bit of a welcome relief, I think, for some of these drivers. They're just going to be able to get their nose down and focused up ahead of them, but it's going to deny us a little bit of action here for the moment, because as you said, Greg, I think these gaps are going to come down a little bit as things continue to work their way around.
All right, and as we move back over, this is Morgan Burkhardt, our pole sitter tonight, currently sitting in 8th. He is making up ground very quickly on Caleb Pocock. Last time by 2 seconds faster than the blue number 88 machine ahead. Now, Burkhardt, he's still got a long way to go to get back towards the front of the field here, but in this longer format race, we are not even halfway through our 25-minute battle. Now as the clock just crosses the 11-minute mark, and we have almost 14 full minutes remaining here at Indianapolis for our Formula 4 drivers.
Yes, we do, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this, but that extra 5 minutes here, Greg, could be a big difference for these drivers, especially, I think, in these IRO 4s. They're going to have to worry a little bit more about tire wear. We normally don't talk about it all that much, 20 minutes in and out relatively easily, but that added 5 minutes, you've got to think about that in the approach to driving.
And you can see there with the brake lock up from Pocock as Morgan Burkhardt, he's going to take that very wide curbing through the chicane and move Burkhardt now up into 7th. I mean, certainly, DJ, especially as we were talking during qualifying about how flat a good portion of this track is, about how setup is for mechanical grip is going to be brutally important here. And over the course of a long run, and there's Pocock putting the car around as he comes off the comes out of the chicane there, coming off the infield. He's going to lose a little bit more time. Still has a pretty good advantage there over Overstreet, though. But certainly that extra 5 minutes, which is about an extra actually about an extra 3 laps here at Indianapolis, it could definitely cause some issues for these drivers, especially if they've been over driving the car. Maybe a little bit of a touch there from Burkhardt and Joaquin Effinger. Effinger now up in the 7th position, but Burkhardt now takes another spot away from him. Move Morgan Burkhardt up into 6th position, but it's going to be a long way for him to get up to Jim Brewster at this point. All right, let's take a look here at that pass with Burkhardt on Effinger going down into turn 1.
I think here Burkhardt just tucks up behind in the draft, waits until the last possible minute, pokes his nose to what will be the inside, and now he's going to be able to just dive onto the binders, swing that car around. A little bit of counter steer there, but he managed that just about perfectly. And as you said, Greg, he does have a lot of room to try to make up here. It looks like it's going to be about 12 seconds or so, maybe a little bit more to try to gain in here on Jim Brewster.
Indeed, and now on that last lap, and certainly helped a little bit by the draft there off the back of Joaquin Effinger. Burkhardt turns in a 125.33. That is the fastest lap anybody has turned in this race, and it is almost a full second faster than our leader Beans Forster. But yeah, as we mentioned here, Burkhardt now with a pretty long distance, about 6 seconds up to Jim Brewster, currently sitting in 5th, and a much longer way to get back to that battle for the lead, as we're now looking at Jim Brewster. And Brewster there with, looks like with Deacon Greenfield, who has had some of those issues. Greenfield now being put, I believe, a lap down by Brewster. Greenfield only on his 9th lap currently. Brewster on his 10th.
Yeah, you called that exactly right there. He's just having to fight his way back up through the field, and this is partially a result of what we talked about, just how long that pit lane is, that you come down there to get that spare car. It's going to put you about a lap down here at this point, so Deacon has just basically got to hold on and hope at this running. That's
right, and so as we watch here, Brewster, who is very strong in the Spec Racer Fords, and he has shown to be quite strong in a number of the circuits that we raced at this season in the IRO4s and the Formula 4 cars, managing to hold off Greenfield, who at one point had been our race leader. And again, Greenfield trying to unlap himself from Brewster, and Greenfield currently sitting 11th. The only drivers listed as behind: Kevin Furline, John Vogel, the other 2 drivers that were caught up in that incident coming onto the home and straight.
Yeah, the only other 2 that were there, and the 2 of them finding themselves well down in the order here. Looks like Deacon's been able to unlap himself pretty cleanly, going to find himself trying to move his way ahead and just try to, I think, hold on to as many positions as possible. This is a race for bragging rights here for the number 36.
And, you know, we might as well check back in with Beans Forster, who to this moment has, I don't want to say he's run a flawless race, but he ran a very smart race at the beginning, managed to stay clear of some of that argy-bargy between the other top 4 drivers, and now just has clear sailing. And this is probably, you know, DJ, the most difficult thing for Forster at this point, where he now has about another 15, a little bit less than 15, or actually I guess a little bit less than 10 minutes remaining in this race, where he just has to put his head down and hit his marks, can't let his mind wander. And I think that may be the toughest part here. As you know, as we watch here, he's got about a half a track until the next car ahead of him. And you know, it's one of those deals where, you know, you just have to, you know, keep focus.
Yeah, and that can be a very, very difficult thing, you know, kind of like Sebring in the way you can sort of get lost a little bit on the back half of that circuit. Certainly possible to do the exact same thing here at IMS. And so he's just got to keep his nose ahead, keep his nose to the grindstone, not have any problems there, and just keep pushing around here and hopefully not run into any big problems there for himself. Yoshikawa here, really in the same kind of position, if not more so, because he has got such a big gap behind him back to Wozencroft that you can kind of think about, it's not that big of a deal, I'll let it on by. But he's got to keep sharp, he's got to keep right on it and keep hitting his marks.
Yeah, as we watch now, Yoshikawa currently 6.5 seconds back from our leader, Forster, and running fairly close lap times. Forster that last time by about 0.4 of a second faster than Yoshikawa. Yoshikawa, who just sets his personal best lap here as he crosses the stripe, and was actually running right on pace within a couple hundredths of a second of our race leader, Beans Forster. As we mentioned, Andrew Wozencroft currently sitting about 8.5 seconds, almost 9 seconds back in 3rd position, running in the high 127s here. And Stevie Ray running about a second off of that pace as well, as Stevie Ray, as we mentioned, now up into 4th position, but almost 9 seconds in arrears of Wozencroft.
Yeah, gonna have to try to gain that back in. Looks like here at this point, the closest battle that we have is the one on your screen. Morgan Burkhardt, credit where credit is due, been able to catch up to the back here of Jim Brewster. We've got a battle on our hands.
Indeed, as they come out of that chicane and onto the home and straight, Burkhardt getting a great run, drafting right up behind the 933 machine. He's going to move all the way to driver's left, and actually just as far to driver's left as he needs, as he goes deep on the brakes into the corner there. And I'll tell you, DJ, I keep looking at you can see the wear marks on the asphalt there, the pavement from the old version of the chicane there, and almost threw me for a moment there thinking, Burkhardt's going really deep into the corner, but actually turned in exactly where he needed for that chicane. But Burkhardt now moves up into 4th position. Next on the docket for him, Stevie Ray in 4th, just a little bit under 7 seconds up the road, as it looks like, I think that may have been Deacon Greenfield in the same spot that has given him problems, DJ, all night long. Let's take a look and see who that was.
All right, here as we jump back to the SDK Gaming replay, it was indeed Deacon Greenfield. Looks like he brings the car down, gets onto the throttle, coming down through 12, now through 13. Little clip of that inside curbing, and I think it was a combination of that and just a little bit too much speed going down through there, and that was enough to send him around.
All right, as we go back live, and I think that's probably the 3rd time between the race and qualifying that we've seen Greenfield go around at that same spot. But as we see here, Burkhardt now coming through the chicane back onto the Ullman Straight. He passed Jim Brewster a lap ago, and look at the amount of ground that he has made up on Stevie Ray. The difference now about 4.5 seconds as Stevie Ray is going through the chicane. And yeah, Burkhardt is definitely closing things down now, down to under 4 seconds.
Under 4 seconds here. Let's see if he's going to be able to close that down in the final, well, 4.5 minutes of the race. It's going to be a little bit of a tall order, but we've seen the outright pace here out of Morgan, and he may just be able to do that here tonight.
Yeah, it looks like Megan Overstreet's issues continue tonight. She just had an issue, went off track, manages to get it back on the pavement, but she is currently sitting in 8th position. As you see there, the pink and purple 044 machine, and I'm sure she's wondering what could have been for her. She started on the outside of row number 1. Morgan Burkhardt crosses the start-finish line, fastest lap of the race at a 125.32. He is now only less than 2.5 seconds back from Stevie Ray. As Beans Forster, we were talking about Forster having to keep focus. Looks like Forster now starting to come up on some slower traffic.
Well, and that, Greg, could actually help him gain a little bit of focus here at this point. I often find when I'm running in a race like this, if I'm often, well, I'm very rarely leading, let's be honest, but if I'm running around in mid-pack and there's nobody around me, I can lose my focus a little bit. But when I come up against some lap traffic, or I have some lap traffic coming up against me, that helps me to keep me on my toes and keep those reflexes nice and sharp.
Indeed. Now, it was very short-lived as there was just one car that Forster was coming up on, and you can see now he's got the entire length of the front straight here at Indianapolis all to himself as he completes his 15th lap now with only 3 minutes remaining here in our first race of 3 this evening. Remember, stay with us. We've got next up, and there's Morgan Burkhardt, the 2 red, white, and blue machines, or I guess one's red, white, blue, and silver. Morgan Burkhardt and Stevie Ray. Ray's going to stay to the inside and give Burkhardt all of the ground that he can give down as they come down into turn 1. And Stevie Ray now moves over driver's left. He's going to tuck in right behind the number 40 machine, so move Burkhardt up in the 4th. As I was saying, we've got 2 more races tonight. Next up is going to be Spec Racer Ford, and then we're going to finish things up with Spec Miata here. And if you like what you see here tonight, please, 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 like the 8 people ahead of you, go and give us a thumbs up here on YouTube. And if you haven't already subscribed to Apex Racing TV, go ahead and do that and click on the notification bell so we can tell you about all the times we go live. And of course, you can find out more information about Apex Racing TV on all the major social media locations, on Facebook, on Instagram, and as long as it's still around, so Twitter. And all you got to do is search for one word. It's Apex Racing TV. All right, so here is Beans Forster now completes lap number 16 And now just a little bit under 2 minutes remaining here at Indianapolis. I'd say probably 2 laps remaining for Mr. Forster.
Yeah, I think that's about right here for him. And now at this point, Beans just continuing to go along here with about 9 seconds up the road from Yoshikawa. Again, nice and clean road. He's just got to keep it focused, keep all 4 tires underneath him here at this point, and just keep pushing along.
All right, so Forster is your leader, Yoshikawa second, Andrew Rosencroft firmly ensconced in 3rd place. I don't want to jinx it on him here, but Wozencroft, who started in 8th position tonight, currently sitting up in 5th. Morgan Burkhardt, who was our pole sitter tonight, sitting in 4th currently. Stevie Ray 5th. Jim Brewster sitting in 6th.
So here we check back. There is Jim Brewster working his way around right now. Now that car behind him, that is a little bit of lapped car. That is a little bit of lap traffic. I'm not entirely sure who that is.
I'm pretty sure that Deacon Greenfield, for the 2nd time tonight, is going to need to unlap himself with Jim Brewster, as Greenfield currently working his 15th lap, probably working his 16th lap. Brewster on the lead lap, working lap number 17.
There you go, and now here comes Beans around right now, going to come across the start-finish line and take that white flag. 1 to go from IMS.
And here we go as he comes down the front straight. Beans Forster now with a 12-second advantage as Yoshikawa comes across the yard of bricks, sees the white flag. He is now working his last lap as well. Beans Forster, he's run almost a flawless race here tonight, stayed out of trouble when he needed to, did not get involved in that turn 1 mix-up on the very first lap, stayed out of the mess at this turn here over at turn number 5, and he now has just a half lap to go here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Yoshikawa running 2nd, Wozencroft 3rd, Morgan Burkhardt, our pole sitter, currently in 4th.
It is there they go along. Beans bringing that car down through the revised S's, continuing to see what they are able to do. 14 seconds to the good. I dare say Beans has got 1 more sequence to go, and he's going to be cruising on to that yard of bricks.
And here he goes. He was our regular season champion, and he showed his mettle in the IR04, in the Formula 4 car, over 6 races this season, and coming across the yard of bricks, taking the Runoffs win. Our Runoffs champion tonight in Formula 4, it is Beans Forster. Yoshikawa comes out of the final corner onto the front straight, and Yoshikawa, he's going to come home in 2nd as Barney waves the checkered flag for him. Then Andrew Wozencroft, he will finish 2.5 seconds back. Great return for Wozencroft as he comes home 3rd, takes the bronze medal. Morgan Burkhardt will come home in 4th tonight, just off the podium, what could have been for our pole sitter, Stevie Ray. Coming out of the final corner now, taking the checkered flag. He'll come home in 5th.
Good run there for Stevie Ray. Going to feel very happy, I think, with that 5th place as we look back at him right here, just pulling off to the side in the runoff area off of turn 1. That's a very, very good day for the series organizer. Indeed. Jim Brewster, he's going to come home in 6th. Joaquin Effinger coming down the front straight now. He will finish in 7th, and Megan Overstreet, I believe, will be our last driver to take the checkered flag, and she does. She's going to come home in 8th. I'm sure not the introduction to the Ray Esports Racing League that she was hoping for. Hopefully we'll see her in the Spec Racer Fords in that next race. All right, so DJ, we've got about 300 people waiting to talk to you in our green room right now. Let's do this. Why don't we bring in Andrew Rosencroft, finishing 3rd tonight in Formula 4. All right, Andrew Rosencroft, a little bit of a chaotic race out there around you, but you were able to avoid a lot of the carnage for the most part. Talk me through about running here at IMS.
Good to hear from you guys.
to hear from you as well. How was it from behind the wheel? We obviously saw a lot of drivers coming into some problems there, but you managed to avoid it and keep everything pointed the right way.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I told myself, just keep it on four wheels, pointing straight. The last couple of races, I've had some incidences, even when I was driving well. So I got lucky. I know it was probably really good to watch on TV what was in front of me, but I'll take the positions when I can get them.
Well, you certainly were able to take those positions up, and now as we turn our attention away from the IRO4s, we start to look to the Spec Racers and the MX-5s. How does your approach change when you jump in between the series?
The next car, the SRF, is not my favorite, honestly, so just I'm going to do the same. We'll see what happens, but I think it'll be more entertaining. I won't expect to get as well as I did this one, but I'm looking forward to the MX-5s, actually.
All right, well, we're looking forward to him as well. And Andrew, I won't keep you too long here because I know you got another race to jump to, but anybody you'd like to thank for a third place?
Oh, I definitely have to reach out to Steve and all the sponsors for letting us do this weekly. To all of you, I really appreciate you doing the broadcast. We enjoy watching it and rewatching it and playing it for our families. And everyone says you guys do a great job, so please keep it up. And I can't wait for next season.
We can't wait either, Andrew. Thank you so much, and thank you for the kind words. Andrew Wozencroft, your third place finisher.
And I think he's been listening to us say we're doing a great job. So yeah, thank you, thank you, Andrew. We really appreciate it. All right, let's bring in our second place finisher, Nagase Yoshikawa.
Nagase able to get through there and avoid some of the carnage that was going on behind you and finish second. That's got to be a pretty good result on the day.
Yeah, pretty happy with it in general. I feel pretty bad because I hit Morgan on turn 1, so yeah, I mean, we've sorted it out and talked about it, but yeah, not ideal there. But besides that, just stayed out of all the other stuff, and then kind of short fueled a little bit on accident, so saved at the end and made it home, so not bad.
Well, I didn't know you short fueled. We didn't have a notice of that, but how important is the draft around this place? I mean, talking about going down into turn 1, it seemed like that's going to be, no matter what car we're in, that's really what you've got to have a good run on to be able to get a good pass done.
For sure, it's such a long straight, and it's just so important, especially in these lower cars. And turn 1 can be quite tricky just because it's hard to spot a braking point. So yeah, it's really one of the hot spots on the circuit for incidents.
Well, in terms of looking ahead to the rest of the night, are you looking more forward to the Spec Racer Fords? Or are you looking more forward to the Miatas?
Fortunately, I have to go, so this was the only race I was doing. Yeah, I really wanted to do the other stuff. The Miatas are fun, but yeah, no, this is my best car. I probably had the best chance in this one, so yeah, but I appreciate all the broadcast and all the work and everything, so yeah, I'm glad I made it for at least one race.
We're glad you made it. Anybody you want to thank for a second place?
Team Watson Racing and Team Watson Racing Setups, check them out, and then All Sports Racing as well. Everyone there involved is awesome, so yeah, can't thank them enough.
We can't thank you enough. Thank you so much, Nagase Yoshikawa, your second place finisher here today.
All right, and finally, let's bring in Beans Forster. He took the win tonight. He was our Season 7 champion and followed it up with a Runoffs win.
He did indeed. Beans, as is now becoming a weekly event, we get to talk to you. Looks like you pretty much had the pick of the litter out there.
Yeah, that was pretty tense in the beginning. I wasn't kind of really confident going into it, but it turned out well.
It turned out well, and we were talking a little bit during the broadcast about how you kind of have to be able to keep mental acuity when you're running in an open field like that, and you've got kind of the track all to yourself. How do you find is the best way to just keep yourself sharp when all you got to do is hit the apexes?
Just kind of reminding myself to not overdrive the car, not push it too much, because there's been plenty of times where I have, and just over silly mistakes, just kind of letting my mind drift off. Just whenever I kind of think about something, kind of tell myself, hey, bring it back in. And yeah.
Well, you clearly do a fantastic job at being able to keep yourself focused, Beans. Anybody you want to thank for tonight before we let you go and get on to the Spec Racer Fords?
I want to thank all you guys here for putting on a good show, and thanks to all the drivers for making some good racing.
Well, we're more than happy to do it, and I'm sure the drivers love being able to go out there. So thank you so much. Beans Forrester, you're victor here in these IRO4s.
Thanks, guys.
All right, DJ, great way to start off the runoffs here from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back here, we're going to have our second of 3 races tonight. It's going to be the Spec Racer Fords, the runoffs winner-take-all 25-minute race for those Spec Racer Ford drivers. We'll be right back here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You're watching the Esports Racing League's runoffs here on Apex Racing TV. And we're back here at IMS at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 2022 Esports Racing Fall Series runoffs. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with DJ Clark. And after a commanding win by Beans Forster in the IRO4s and the Formula 4s, we'll see if he can follow this up in Spec Racer Ford, as we're now a little bit over halfway, actually 9 minutes through our 15-minute qualifying session. Again, we're going to follow that up with a 25-minute run to the checkered flag. Paul Slavonic, who made his return to the Esports Racing League last week for the final event of the season at Sebring International Raceway. He is your provisional pole sitter with a 137.67. Skip Brock, a Spec Miata driver in real life. Skip is currently your second fastest driver with a 138.10, so almost 4/10 of a second off of Slavonic. Morgan Burkhardt is currently your third fastest driver, and then John Vogel. And Megan Overstreet, good. She did make it out for our second race of the evening here. Megan in the purple and black 044 machine, currently our fifth fastest driver on track. Here, a couple of new joins as well. Chris Montgomery in the 313 machines joining us tonight in Spec Racer Fords. I know he's been running that Weekend Warriors league as well, and I've been racing him in the Weekend Warriors Formula V league for the past season, and the two of us have had some pretty epic battles for mid the backpack. Brian McRae SCCA member who was had been a stalwart in the SCCA Foundations League. He's with us here tonight in the number 98 machine. I believe he is also an SCCA B-Spec racer. There in that orange and white number 98 machine. He is currently qualified 9th. Jim Brewster, who has had a couple podium finishes in Spec Racer Ford DJ this season in the Ray Esports Racing League. He is currently sitting 10th in that red number 933 machine. I'm sure he's looking for a little bit better result than he saw in the IRO4s.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. He's going to pull off to the side there and take another crack at it here. Here comes Deacon Greenfield across the line right now. Deacon, another one who's going to be looking for a better result. That's going to be a little bit better. He's going to move himself up into 9th place with that lap.
All right, there you go. And Greenfield definitely looking for a better result as he was caught up in that incident, that big incident that we had in the IRO4s. Currently your 9th fastest driver in the field. We talked about Jim, Stevie Ray currently running in 12th in that number 11 machine. Caleb Pocock, it looks like Wayne Buttermore and Joaquin Effinger, both very closely aligned, closely matched as usual in the 14th and 15th position, and still waiting to see if Charles Vaccaro in the 221 machine can put in a flying lap. There's Charles. He's the only driver so far, I believe, who has not set a lap time. Let's see if he can do it this time, as he is going to come out onto the IndyCar Turn 2. And just has a couple more corners remaining here. And actually, he doesn't have any times in the books, DJ, because, well, this is his very first flying lap. Go figure.
All right, well, let's see what the 221 can do in that case. If he doesn't get it on this one, he's still got about 3 minutes left to go here in the session, so should be enough time to get one, maybe 2 more laps in there, as Vaccaro's going to cross over the yard of bricks right now. Let's see if that counts. It does, up to 8th place.
There we go, and I believe Vaccaro's based out on the West Coast, so still a little bit early in the evening for him. That 5 o'clock start for our first race, and obviously now about what, DJ, about 6 o'clock your time there out on the West Coast. Paul Slavonic, still your provisional pole sitter. Fast time for him, a 137.57. Morgan Burkhardt now moves up to second fastest with a 137.91, displacing Skip Brock Jr., moving the 68 machine back into third fastest. Megan Overstreet, your 4th fastest driver in the 044 machine, as we're now watching Beans Forster trying to get a draft off of Deacon Greenfield through the last series of corners here.
Yeah, and like we talked about in the IRO4, the draft going to be pretty crucial here on the Spec Racer Fords. I don't think it's going to be nearly as massive as it was necessarily with those open wheelers, but here they come, and they're going to be trying.
And Stevie Ray, who's found himself pushed all the way down to 13th position. Let's see if he can improve upon that as he crosses the yard of bricks. Stevie Ray with a 139.62 turns his fastest lap of the session, but not enough to move out of 13th position.
No, not quite enough there at that point. Here we're going to take another look at Beans right now, working his way through the second half of the infield section to try to see what that 231 will be able to do. Looks like that was a pretty quick sector 2 there, purple for Beans.
Here we go with the rainbow-colored car here coming off of IndyCar 2. It's got that final chicane there, big, huge curbing there at the apex. And just 2 more corners. This is the corner that's gotten so many drivers caught out, at least in the IRO4s. The Spec Racer Ford seems to handle that curbing there very, very well. And as he comes onto the front straight, past the yard of bricks and that go to Beans Forster, does he improve? No, he does not. That time, almost 1,500ths off of his best time. He puts in a 138.61. He is still almost 700ths off of John Vogel's time, driver of the number 4 machine, in 5th.
All right, so he's going to have a little bit more to do here, and with only about 5 seconds left on the clock, I think this is going to be the last lap for all of these drivers as we watch McCrea trying to work his way down through the corners right now. Going to be getting a nice little draft off of the 33 in front of him. That could be a little bit helpful, but we'll have to see just how much help it is.
And as we see here now, the clock has expired. Checkered flag is in the air. Last flying laps will count. Got a driver who's just gone off out of turn at number 3. Going to call off that last flying lap as we watch Andrew Wozencroft, who came home with third place in the IRO4s. Best he is going to be able to manage is 7th here on the starting grid in Spec Racer Ford, currently with a fast time of 138.8. That is 7th position, and Charles Vaccaro now on his 3rd flying lap displaces Wozencroft. So he's going to bump Wozencroft now down into 8th as Vaccaro takes over 7th position, as we only have a few cars remaining on track with trying to complete flying laps. There's Chris Montgomery in the 313 machine. He's got Brian McRae in the 98 machine behind. I think just ahead is Jim Brewster in that reddish orange 933 machine. We'll see how these drivers do on their last flying laps as they all come onto the front straight. And Brewster, does he improve? Brewster puts in a 139.37. That'll move him up to 11th. Montgomery now with a 138.53. That'll move him up into 7th position. Brian McRae does not improve. And it looks like Joaquin Effinger, currently running 16th, looks as though he may be slightly off the pace. Megan Overstreet on her very last lap does not improve. She is going to, I believe, start this evening's race on the inside of row number 2.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. That'll be another good starting position, though, for Megan. Hopefully be able to capitalize on that speed in the race and avoid some of those incidents that we saw befall her in that first running. So let's see here. Hopefully a good run for the 044.
And we'll see here, as I believe she started this lap after the checkered flag had flown, and indeed Megan Overstreet retires back to the pit. So we're going to have our field start gridding up here, and here is our starting grid. On the pole with a fast time of 137.573, Paul Slavonic driving the number 528 machine. Morgan Burkhardt, our pole sitter in the last race, he's going to start on the outside of row number 1. For this time around in the number 40 machine. He'd start 2nd. Megan Overstreet, she's going to start 3rd tonight with Beans Forster, our winner from race 1. He's going to start 4th. Skip Brock Jr., he's going to start on the inside of row number 3, while John Vogel will start 6th. Chris Montgomery will start 7th tonight, and Charles Vaccaro, he'll start 8th.
In 9th, it's going to be Andrew Wozencroft with series organizer Stevie Ray to his outside in P10. Then it's Jim Brewster from the Virginia's region in the number 933, followed by Deacon Greenfield in 12th place. 13th will be Brian McRae there in the number 98, followed by Caleb Pocock. Wayne Buttermore and Joaquin Effinger will round out your 16-car grid.
And as I say almost every week, wherever there is Wayne Buttermore, you know that not more than 1 or 2 positions away will be Joaquin Effinger. Those two, for 7 seasons now, DJ, have been battling it out with one another practically every single race in every single class, race after race, and they race very well against one another. As we've got the pace car now underway, leading this 16-car field on its pace lap. And while they start that and start to make their way around our 14-turn 2.6-mile road course here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's second race of the evening, and that is Spec Racer Sports, whose mission is to help fuel and support your addiction to road racing. And they feel that the way to accomplish this is by providing exceptional customer support, the parts and services you need when you need them at a fair and competitive price. Located trackside at Motorsports Ranch Houston, Spec Racer Sports currently stables Spec Racer Fords and offers exceptionally prepared rental cars as well as cars for sale. They also offer storage and support as well as technical services such as chassis dyno work, driver coaching, and fabrication. And of course, they offer all of these services at a very competitive rate. To find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services, visit them at specracersports.com. All right, so DJ, as we've got the field making their way out on their pace lap right now, didn't bring it up during qualifying, but let's quickly recognize our gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal finishers in Spec Racer Ford during the regular season. Beans Forster, your regular season champion with 109 points, a 17-point gap back to Jim Brewster. Brewster, of course, now starting in, I believe, 11th position tonight, came home with the silver medal. Justin Huffman finished third in the championship this season with John Vogel and Deacon Greenfield finishing just out of the medals there in 4th and 5th, and a little surprised here tonight, DJ, now that I'm looking through the finishing order, because the regular season order, because Josh Justice finished 6th in the championship. A little surprised we don't have Josh here this evening.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why Josh isn't here tonight, but he is sorely going to be missed, as he is one of those drivers that we always love to be able to see. Always very fun out on the track, a little bit aggressive, a little bit spunky, and always a blast to watch him do his work.
Indeed. All right, so the pace car now peeling off to the pit lane, making that quick little move to the right as everybody else makes the 90-degree left-hander, and that gives Paul Slavonic in the number 528 machine, our pole sitter, gives him the field. Morgan Burkhardt in his number 40 Spec Racer Ford, might also mention with the livery of his mother's Honda CRX race car there. He's on the outside of row number 1. Megan Overstreet, Beans Forster making up row number 2. And the green flag is in the air. Early green flag from Barney, our starter, as Paul Slavonic moves out to an early lead. Morgan Burkhardt slots into second. We don't have 4 cars wide as we did in our first race. Hopefully things will be a little bit more calm as our drivers come down into turn 1 for the first time, as we've got their Beans Forster. He slots in ahead of Skip Brock Jr. and John Vogel. All of those drivers following Paul Slavonic, Morgan Burkhardt, and Megan Overstreet, who must all be giving a sigh of relief that they had it pretty much unencumbered going down into turn 1, as the majority of the field now stretching out and all lining up nose to tail. It's Slavonic, Burkhardt, Overstreet, Skip Brock Jr., Forster, Vogel, Vaccaro, Montgomery, Stevie Ray, and Deacon Greenfield, your top 10.
Yeah, and compared to the calamity that we saw there on the first lap, this seems almost calm and together, as John Vogel looked like he was able to gain a place there from Beans Forster. Beans going to try to fight back here through 7 and 8. Not going to be able to do so, and that is going to be Vogel up 1 position. Beans down 2 since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, and you know, DJ, we saw over the last couple of weeks of the season, in Spec Racer 4 in particular, but across most of the classes, as Beans had in most cases already locked up championships, or was very close to locking up championships, that he was starting to run. He's by nature, I think, a very aggressive driver, but he was learning to have a little bit of patience, and you know, as he didn't want to get wrecked out and lose a championship, and I think that's going to serve him well here tonight, as perhaps he's taking a little bit more measured approach to this slightly longer 25-minute race, as we watch our leaders coming out of the final corner to complete lap number 1. It is Paul Slavonic, our pole sitter. He's got the lead. Morgan Burkhardt was tucked right up underneath the ducktail of the 528 machine. He currently runs second. Well, it looks like Megan Overstreet had some issues coming through turn 1. She had come down the front straight, and in the draft it pulled up right behind our 2 leaders, but coming out of turn 1, it's as if the go pedal just didn't want to go, and Overstreet there is now has lost a position, and goes over the curbing and spins the car out, coming onto the Holman straight.
Oh, and that is going to drop Megan right down the order there, just waiting for the rest of the field to get on by, so she's able to move that car back around. A very unfortunate coming together there onto the back straightaway, but it looks like we've got a little bit more action still continuing on farther up in the field.
Yeah, and that may have, as she had some issues there in that chicane coming onto the Holman straight, and may have compressed a bit of the field there, as we're now watching Skip Rock Jr. and John Vogel, along with Beans Forster, Charles Vaccaro, side by side as well. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened to Megan.
All right, as we go back to check out the replay here, this is going to start a little bit farther back, so going down into turn 1, gets onto the binders here, and it looks like everything's okay, able to gain up a decent amount of time, but runs wide, tries to catch it, brings it back around. That's going to bunch up the field behind her, and I think that is part 1 of the inevitable coming together that we saw down the back straightaway.
That's right, and we see now as she comes through turn number 3 next to Skip Brock Jr. Brock goes over all the way driver's left, comes across the first apex, and Overstreet actually came to the inside of that second set of curbing there, had her right wheels in the grass, and when she popped back over from the inside of that curbing, sent the rear end of the car around. All right, let's take a look here as we're seeing another big change in the order. Here, DJ. Looks like John Vogel in the number 4 machine dropped back a couple positions, and as we were looking to check John Vogel, he goes around, has the rear end step out on him with Stevie Ray, and now Ray is going to fall all the way back in the 13th position. Let's take a look and see what precipitated this, as Vogel did not have a very strong lap number 3.
No, certainly did not. This is going to be going down into turn 12 here. Looks for the over-under, and Vogel just misses the corner, comes back out onto the circuit there, and then I think this was just a little bit of miscommunication. All cars trying to go for the same place.
All right, and then let's take a look. We're going to go a little bit later in the action. I said lap 3. I think it was lap 2, as Vogel goes and rejoins the action just ahead of Stevie Ray. And this is coming into turn 3, and as Vogel comes across the number 11 machine, both he and Stevie Ray get together and end up in that huge gravel trap on the outside of turn number 3. Stevie Ray, he falls back now into 13th position. John Vogel, I believe, took a run down the pit lane. I think he has rejoined. We'll have to verify that. And he is back out. But let's do this. Let's go back to the live action here. We've got 3 wide going down into turn 1. We've got Deacon Greenfield up against the wall. We've got Andrew Wozencroft next to him. And we've got Charles Vaccaro in the 80 machine. And it looks like it's going to be Greenfield, then Vaccaro, then Greenfield, then Wozencroft, then Vaccaro, and Jim Brewster in the 933 machine. He started, again, a little bit further back in the field than I think he wanted to, DJ, having finished 2nd in the championship and starting 11th here at the runoffs, but he's sitting right in that battle as well, currently in 9th. As we see them going 2 by 2 down into the second chicane here, and both Greenfield and Wozencroft get a little loose, as Wozencroft manages to get around the 36 machine, so move Wozencroft now up into 6th, having started 9th tonight. That's a good pickup for him. Then it is, as we mentioned, Greenfield. Then it is Jim Brewster, who gets around Charles Vaccaro, so move the 933 machine now up into 8th, and he gets a great run coming through Indy 2, and he is right on the gearbox of the 36.
Yeah, right up behind him here at this point, trying to put as much pressure as they can behind it. They've got to be a little bit careful. That battle with Brewster and Vaccaro right there behind, that could spill over into this battle up ahead as well. So you've got to be looking a little bit farther back. You don't want to go too wide, or too wide for too long here.
And let's do this. Let's jump a little bit further up in the field right now. We've got Beans Forster currently running in 3rd. He was our regular season champion, and Skip Brock Jr. And right ahead of them, going around, coming through turn 1, Paul Slavonic, our pole sitter and now former leader, spins the car around. Let's take a look and see what happened to him.
I think this may have just been another case of a little bit too much speed coming down into turn 1. We take a look here. Let's look at the way that car handles under braking, brings it down. Yeah, just too much speed. You can see that rear end start to break away on him. He's able to kind of catch the car, bring it back around, but he's going to lose, looks like 3 positions in the running.
Indeed. So Morgan Burkhardt is your new leader. Beans Forster running 2nd, Skip Brock Jr. running in 3rd, and they are still locked nose to tail. Now, it started off, Skip Brock started off in 5th position, and Beans Forster started off in 4th. They have been locked in a battle pretty much since the drop of the green flag. For the moment, Beans Forster has the advantage on the number 68 machine of Brock as they are working through the last vestiges of lap number 5. All right, let's jump to that battle we were watching a few moments ago here, DJ, with Greenfield, with Vaccaro, Brewster, and it looks like Brian McRae in that orange and white number 98 machine. He's starting to join the party here as the 4 cars up ahead of him fan out once again.
Yeah, we're starting to see that battle again. We ride on board here with Charlie Vaccaro. Little bit of a bump draft there to Andrew Wozencroft up ahead. You got to be a little bit careful with that. You can't be too aggressive with it. Thinks about a move down to the inside. Not going to go for it there, and they're going to sort themselves out. But in front of them, that is going to be Brewster and Greenfield trying to go side by side.
And as they come out of turn 2 and switch over to big sweeping turns 3 and 4, Brewster in that orange number 933 machine thought he had the advantage under braking through 1 and 2. Greenfield, though, with the position, is able to hold him off for the time being, and perhaps giving a little bit of coverage to those two. Once again, we're looking at Vaccaro and Wozencroft as they were side by side coming onto the Holman straight, but now I think all 4 of them, I think Brewster, Greenfield, Vaccaro, Wozencroft, they're going to have to worry about that number 98 machine, as he is now pulled right up into the draft here in a 5-car battle now for 6th position.
We take a look out the back here of Vaccaro, and there you said it. We've got drivers starting to creep their way up into this battle, but side by side right now between Wozencroft and Vaccaro as they come down into turn 12. Are they going to be able to hold this one out? It looks like the outside lane is going to work out for Vaccaro, be able to hold onto that position here for the moment. Wozencroft down into 9th.
You know, and every time I see somebody come out of that chicane complex and around IndyCar 2, pinned all the way to driver's right on the inside, I always fear, as if, you know, knowing that somebody's going to get late on the brakes, and also that they're going to be in the blind spot of the car that's up against the wall. But thankfully, no incident, no impact there, as we now see Brewster coming down the inside of Deacon Greenfield, as now it looks as though Brewster had position coming through turn 1, but you know, we're seeing this a lot. I mean, we saw this in the Formula 4s as well, DJ, that as long as you can get on the brakes deep going into turn 1 and maybe enter turn 1 from driver's left going side by side, it sets you up for that left-hander over at turn number 2. It kind of reminds me of turn 4 at Mid-Ohio, and then you have that quick switchback as you go up the hill to Madness. That, you know, as long as you can keep alongside the car beside you, you've got then that position coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, it's very similar to that, obviously without a little bit of the elevation change that you have to go through there. As you've said it before, this is flat as a board around here, but looks like we've got a little bit of a battle for the lead with who else but Beans Forrester.
That's right, as both Forrester and Skip Brock, who's a little bit further back, have just run their fastest laps of the race. That last time by, Beans Forrester almost 2 seconds faster than Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 machine, and this is where the draft is going to help the 231 as they come down the front straight to complete lap number 7, and you can see there's the 231 comes right up to the gearbox of that green, white, and blue number 40 machine as they come under braking going into turn 1. So Burkhardt, who maybe thought he was going to have an easy race of it after Paul Silvanic fell off the course, well, not so much, as our season 7 champion in Spec Racer Ford, Beans Forrester, is on the march. Oh, and here, look at this going down to the turn 1, as we had Vaccaro go so deep down in the turn 1. He had gotten around both Brewster and Greenfield, but then loses the rear end of the car, DJ.
Yeah, just broke away on him. And how many times have we seen that happen going down into turn 1? Whoop! A bit of contact there actually coming out of turn 4, and that's going to set up a bad run, I think, for Brewster up in front of all of that, but he's going to be able to hold on to it, and we've got a little bit of a flying V coming down the back straightaway.
Yeah, and look who now is part of that battle. Megan Overstreet, who started on row number 2, had that issue just a little while ago. Oh, and now going around is Andrew Wozencroft as he loses the rear end coming through the entrance of the chicane. That's going to make things difficult for Wayne Buttermore and for Joaquin Effinger, but they both get by. But I was just going to say, Megan Overstreet now part of that battle as well. She moves up into 9th. She's right off the back of the 96, probably the 36 machine of Greenfield, and right in there with Brewster. And now McRae, who started 13th tonight, finds himself in 7th position in that orange and white machine, right behind Jim Brewster's 933. All right, let's take a look here, DJ, as they were coming down towards the end of the Holman Straight and setting up for the chicane. As we see those 5 cars all setting up, let's see what happened to Andrew Wozencroft.
This is coming down into the braking zone. Looks like he outbraked himself there into turn 7, and I think maybe he just got on the loud pedal a little bit too early. The rear tire spinning up there on Wozencroft, and that sent him around, just being a little bit offline and a little bit less grip on that side of the track.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you end up outbraking yourself and you go a little deep, there's a lot of pavement there in order to get the car slowed down. But I think you said it. I think he got on the throttle maybe a little bit earlier, given the grip levels at that part of the track, and just saw it go around. But see here, this battle here is Brewster and Greenfield, McRae and Overstreet come on the Holman Straight. And Stevie Ray, who had that early race incident with John Vogel, he's now about to join the party. It looks like everybody at some point in this race wants to race for 6th position as Greenfield gets around Brewster. So move the 36 machine now back up into 6th. Move Jim Brewster into 7th, then McRae, then Overstreet, and again Stevie Ray starting to sneak up in that burgundy and silver machine. But let's jump back to this fight for the lead here in Spec Racer 4, DJ.
Beans Forrester just continuing to try to work on Morgan Burkhardt. They've got to be a little bit careful. Skip Brock Jr. only about 1.3 seconds behind them. So if these two go side by side for a long time, that could leave a little bit of a battle. But it looks like Beans has no intention of waiting around. Moves off to the inside, ready to make the move.
And there you go. He drafts right past the number 40 of Burkhardt. Burkhardt almost immediately tucks in back behind the 231 machine to try and catch that draft. So Beans Forster starting 4th tonight, starting on the outside of row number 2. He is your new leader, but he runs wide coming out of turn 2, going into turn 3. Burkhardt, I think, had designs on coming underneath them going into turn number 4, but you said it, Skip Brock is just kind of sitting back there waiting for one of these two drivers to either make a mistake or to halt their charge, and it wouldn't be long for him to make up ground. Paul Slavonic just runs his fastest lap of, well, not his fastest lap of the race, but running almost a full second faster than Brock and Burkhardt at this point, and he's kind of stalking as well.
Yeah, he's certainly starting to stalk his way forward, and we know that number 528 has plenty of speed underneath it, so I wouldn't be surprised. But side by side right now, oh, 3 wide into 7, bumping and banging.
There you go, as they go, Megan Overstreet to the inside, Greenfield to the middle, and I don't think that Brewster knew that he had 2 cars, drivers left. He went to go turn in, and there was the fender of Deacon Greenfield, so he got run off. He lost a lot of momentum there, and he now falls back into 10th position from 7th. So move Megan Overstreet now in the 044 machine back up into 6th position. Greenfield 7th, Stevie Ray, and then as we mentioned, Brewster and Brian McRae. But Overstreet, who qualified in, I believe, in 3rd position tonight on the inside of row number 2, she is trying to get back up into this battle for a medal. As we have Burkhardt and Beans Forster still at it, and look at that coming into the picture. Skip Brock in the number 68 machine. It's not as if he ever left. And Paul Slavonic, he's just kind of stalking back there. Slavonic, once again, the fastest of the 4 drivers. That last time by 0.8 of a second faster than our 2 leaders.
We've got a little bit of a battle starting to brew, that is for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised here if Beans Forster decided to back off a little bit in order to give a little bit more time, a little bit more running here to try to fend off any of those attacks from behind.
Take a look now as we're watching Greenfield and Stevie Ray come down the Holman Straight. This is now the battle for 7th. And Stevie Ray's going to draft right past the 36 machine. So Stevie Ray, who was in that early incident with John Vogel, he now finds himself in 7th position. Brian McRae going a little deep on the brakes, going into the chicane there. He gets it gathered back up, currently sits in 10th. But
Check. Go ahead. The classic commentators bobble, where we jump over each other.
That's right. All right, and side by side, no doors, side pod to side pod. Burkhardt, 2 drivers right, beats Forster, the drivers left. You can see Forster a little bit later on the brakes in the 40 machine. He's going to run wide, but Burkhardt gets the car rotated, and they are still side by side. But Burkhardt, he's got the shorter path going down into turn number 3, and Burkhardt's going to hold off Beans Forster once again. And you saw Skip Brock draft all the way up behind those 2 cars. There's nothing better in a Spec Racer Ford than to see 2 more Spec Racer Fords side by side directly in front of you. Puts a giant hole in the air. Skip Rock almost able to take advantage of it, but once again, Paul Slavonic, fastest of the top 4 drivers. The only problem for Slavonic, he is, he's about 2 seconds off the lead at the moment, and he's only knocking a couple hundredths to a couple tenths each and every lap.
Yeah, he's going to need to increase that speed a little bit, or he's going to need to pray that we see a little bit more action up here from Burkhardt, Forster, and Skip Brock Jr. up ahead. If they continue to battle it out, that's going to allow for Paul to get right up into the mix of everything and really put his name back up into the leading category of this race.
That's right. As Sylvatic was our pole sitter, and we have now just a touch over 5 minutes remaining here in this 25-minute Spec Racer Ford race from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Remember, everybody, that we've got one more race left to go after this one. We've got our Spec Miatas, the MX-5 Cup cars. They will be our final 25-minute race of the day, as we've got Beans Forster there giving a nice little shove to the 40 machine. I think as our 2 leaders are trying to make this a 2-car fight to the checkered flag and not try to keep it from being a 3-car fight to the checkered flag. We saw that run that Forster had. He didn't want to do anything with it, did not want to slow down our top 2 cars. I think they both know that Slavonic is coming, and that obviously Skip Brock, as he's been all race long, is still in contention for the gold.
Yeah, I think they do as well. And that was the point I was making a little bit earlier about Beans just kind of recognizing that battle didn't need to be fought out right at this minute. Now, as we get down into the last, let's say, 2 minutes of this race, I expect Beans to throw the gloves off and really go for a full-out attack here. But right now, I think he's going to be relatively content to hold behind Burkhardt, try to see if they can extend that gap a little bit, and then throw everything at the wall after we get into the last 2 laps.
All right, let's jump back a little bit and watch this battle that's been going on for a while now between Stevie Ray and Deacon Greenfield. They've swapped positions from the last time we saw them here, as Greenfield, who started off in 12th position, now sitting in 7th, with Stevie Ray sitting right behind him in 8th position, caught up in the draft. And we can see Jim Brewster, who was originally in that massive 5-car battle, sitting just a little bit further back from there, as we jump back to this battle for the lead and look at how things have changed in just half a lap here, DJ, as Beans Forster is your new leader. Paul Slavonic coming down the inside on both Skip Brock. Oh, and and Slavonic puts the car around. He went very deep. He was all the way to the inside driver's right, spins the car just as he had moved in the 2nd position. And so it is Forster, it is Skip Brock, it is Morgan Burkhardt, your top 3, with only 3 minutes remaining here at Indianapolis.
Oh my goodness gracious, as I think we're going to go back and check out a replay here at this pass for the lead. It looks like here, coming down into it, that I think Beans just got a better run, was able to carry a little bit more momentum down into turn 12. You see him lining up. Oh, outbraked himself a little bit there, did Burkhardt.
And there you go, as Burkhardt went so deep down into turn 12, Skip Brock not able to take advantage of it and get underneath him, but he certainly did it later as they came down into turn number 1. As we go back to the live action view right now, as we watch Burkhardt trying to get that second position back from Skip Brock Jr. as we go into the final corners once again, and we see Burkhardt much stronger through this complex on lap number 14 than he was on lap number 13, as our top 3 runners all come back out onto the front straight. And with now less than 2 minutes to go, they are starting the penultimate lap here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Beans Forster, for the second race in a row, finds himself at this point in the lead. He's got Burkhardt and he's got Skip Brock Jr., though, side by side coming down, under braking going into turn number 1. Who will come out in second is Burkhardt, much tidier through the complex. He gets around Skip Brock Jr., move him up in the second.
That was a good move there, a good regain by Morgan Burkhardt. Obviously, that little problem he had coming down through 12 and 13, able to recover from that. Now he's going to set his sights on Beans and hope that Skip Brock Jr. doesn't apply too much pressure to his back so that he can just focus on the attack here at this point.
We follow them down the Holman Straight. You can see the effects of the draft as Morgan Burkhardt now able to pull right back up to the 231 machine. Skip Brock Jr. there as well as they go into the chicane area here. And we saw there a distant 4th position, Paul Silvanic, who managed to gather that car back up after that spin over to turn 1 2 laps ago. He currently runs 4th. As they come out of IndyCar number 2, under braking.
Here they go. Let's see if he's going to be able to get a little bit of a move here at this point. Trying to get the run is Burkhardt out of this final corner as they're going to be coming to the white flag. He's going to be close. I think if he wants it, he can probably have a look down into turn 1.
And there he goes. Forster now taking a defensive line, sets the car up middle of track. He's going to make Burkhardt to choose either a poor entry or a less poor entry. Burkhardt drafts past the 231 machine. He's got the inside position going into 1. Skip Brock Jr. goes deep all the way driver's left. Can he get around the 231? He cannot, but Morgan Burkhardt, he is your new leader as we come into turn 2 on the very last lap here from Indianapolis. Beans Forster, he's second. Skip Brock, he's third as they come onto the Holman Straight for the very last time. And Burkhardt, he was left with some very poor choices, but made the best of what he had there, was able to draft past the 231 machine and got onto the brakes later. He is your leader with now only a third of a lap remaining here at Indianapolis.
Right, can he hold this out till the end? Are we going to see a little bit of a charge to the line? Is Beans maybe going to be able to get this run down into turn 12? We talked about that being a sneak attack area. I think he's a little far back. If Beans wants to get this, he has got to be very, very late on the brakes.
And he tries to use that banking to his advantage. He's able to pull up to within 1 car length of the number 40 machine. I don't know if that's going to be enough. The finish line right around the middle of, obviously the middle of that front straight. And I don't know if that's going to be enough to be able to slingshot past, but let's see what happens as they come onto the front straight for the final time. Morgan Burkhardt crosses the yard of bricks. He takes the win in Spec Racer Ford. Beans Forster, he finishes a 1/4 of a second back, 25/100ths of a second back. Skip Brock, he finishes in 3rd. Paul Silvanic, our pole sitter, finishes a lonely 4th position just off the podium. And now let's take a look as we've got our 5th place finish. Chris Montgomery, he'll come home in 5th. Megan Overstreet, she'll finish in 6th. Good recovery for her. Deacon Greenfield will finish in 7th. Charles Vaccaro almost tosses 8th away, but he's going to beat Stevie Ray to the line. Vaccaro is going to finish 8th, Stevie Ray 9th, and Jim Brewster finished 2nd in the regular season championship in Spec Racer 4 tonight. I'm sure not the race that he wanted. He comes home in 10th.
comes home in 10th there, as it looks like McCrea, Wozencroft at 12th and 13th, and Effinger will bring up the back of the field here to come home in 14th position on the day.
All right, so great race there at the end as Morgan Burkhardt waits till the very last lap to make the draft pass on Beans Forster, comes home with the win, and beats our regular season champion here. But let's do this. I know we definitely want to get these drivers back into qualifying for the final race of the night. We've got both Beans Forster and Morgan Burkhardt. Let's bring in Beans for the second time this evening, finishing second here tonight in Spec Racer 4.
Well, Beans, talk me through your mentality on those last couple of laps, because it looked absolutely nip and tuck there with you and those drivers up in front of you. What was going through your mind?
I got really scared going 3 wide there on the last lap.
I can imagine you did. I've got to ask you, though, when you're in a position like that, I mean, are you more worried about car preservation, or are you more worried about trying to get that position?
It's got to be a little bit of both. I feel like you got to know where to put your car. You got to put your car in the right spot. And I figured outside of turn 1 is going 3 wide is worse than being in the middle. Just as long as everyone holds their line, you get a better exit on that.
Well, you certainly were able to get the good exit there. And what can we hope for you here in the MX-5s as we move on to them next?
Well, seeing as how last race went, I didn't really get much practice in the new MX-5, so I guess we'll see how it goes.
Wish you all the luck in the world, my friend, and we'll see you out on the track.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Beans Forrester, your second place finisher here tonight.
All right, now let's talk to our winner in Spec Racer Fords, Morgan Burkhardt.
And Morgan, a crazy run to the end there, it has to be said. What was going through your mind on the last couple of laps? Morgan, you got a copy?
There we go. Would help if I turn the mic on.
There you go.
I didn't realize that we were going into the last lap until it was the last lap. So I didn't really do any planning. It was kind of just like, I've seen this done before. Let's try this and see if that works. And I managed to get lucky when Beans and Skip went side by side through turn 1. It gave me a little bit of a buffer, and I realized that turn 1 was my weak point all race long, and that I was really not really quick, but quicker than they were and getting better runs out of the back half. I was just struggling on the brakes. So I kind of utilized what I could to give myself a safe buffer.
Well, and in terms of that buffer, I mean, you know, when you're battling out there, were there a little bit of moments that you were scared coming into it? I mean, it looked like you and Beans were just at it tooth and nail the entire time.
Ooh, apologies for slow responses. I'm doing a qualifying lap right now. But I've never really felt scared when I'm racing Beans. I trust him a lot. He's a good guy. I feel really safe and comfortable running with him. So it was kind of just like, let's throw the gloves down, let's have some fun. And that's exactly what we did. I mean, it was close, it was clean, and that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for, indeed. And if you're qualifying, we won't hold you out that long. Morgan, congratulations again. We'll see you on for these MX-5s.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt, your winner tonight at the Ray Esports Runoffs in Spec Racer 4. Congratulations to him, and gosh, you could hear that Logitech G27 grinding away as he was trying to get in a qualifying lap here in the MX-5s in the Spec Miatas for our last and final race. And speaking of that, we've got one more race to go here from Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Ray Esports Runoffs. But before we do that, we're going to take another quick little break. We're going to thank some of our sponsors and partners. And before we do that, if you like what you're seeing, go ahead and give us that big thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to Apex Racing TV, what are you waiting for? Go and do that for us as well. All right, so DJ and I will be back here in just a few moments from Indianapolis for race number 3, our final race of the night. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Ray Esports Racing League's runoffs for season number 7 for the fall tour. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with DJ Clark, and we've just finished 2 wonderful races here from the Yard of Bricks from the Speedway. 1 more to go. It's Spec Miata, or the MX-5 Cups, MX-5 Cup cars, as iRacing likes to refer to it, and we are currently right in the breadth of qualifying here, just about halfway through our 15-minute qualifying session. We've got 9 drivers who have set times, and we've got somewhere around, I think, 17 or 18 drivers all told. Josh Soto back with us here this evening. He is your provisional pole sitter with a 141.08, your best time at the moment. Ryan Maloney out of the Washington, D.C. area, currently your second fastest driver, and not all that far off. He is, what, about 0.04 of a second or so off of Soto's times at the moment. Tell me if you've heard this broken record before. Beans Forster in the 231 machine, who, is still trying to come to grips with the new version of the MX-5, DJ. But he's 3rd fastest in the field.
Beans Forster just doing what Beans Forster does best, and that is leading up at the front of this field, up into 3rd place. And you've got to think, once that car gets into race trim, he's going to be very, very tricky to try to get around.
Yeah, that is definitely the case, as we've found that not only does he qualified well, but he races very well as well. Let's jump over right now. We've got Morgan Burkhardt, who we just talked to a few moments ago, who had not set a qualifying time yet. Apparently, DJ was throwing his concentration off just a little bit. But going to the top of the leaderboard now, Morgan Burkhardt throws down a 140.65. And he is now almost more than 0.35 of a second, almost 0.4 of a second, up on our previous provisional holder, Josh Soto.
It's an impressive time there from Morgan. Not going to be doing the fastest time there with a big clobber of the curbs coming up over 5 and 6. That's going to throw that suspension off. But really, as opposed to the Spec Racer Fords and the IRO Force that we saw earlier on in this session, these MX-5s, a little bit more of a pliable suspension. They're going to be able to take more of the curves, so look for them to be a little bit more aggressive over those big, big curbs, down into 1, down into 7, down into 12.
Yeah, gotta love, and there you go. You can see as Megan Overstreet takes again, what I think is probably the tallest curbing here on the circuit over at turn 1, just lifts that MX-5 up, but doesn't really unsettle it all that much. It's just not the fast way around. The longer those driven wheels aren't on the pavement, the longer it takes to get the power down. Megan currently 7th fastest here out on track. 6th fastest Skip Brock Jr., who we just saw come away with a medal in our Spec Racer Ford race, and he's trying to improve upon a 142.68.
Trying to improve a little bit here as he works his way around. I've got to say here, Greg, I understand the impetus for everybody to just go out and set fast laps, but I think the fastest way to get him is going to be a lot like we saw in the Spec Racer Fords. Tuck up behind somebody get the benefit of the toe. And I don't think you're going to be getting fast laps here by yourself. No, and and I think probably the first driver that we see that does that takes advantage of and I think finding teammates right now is somewhat hard to find, but it looks like most of our drivers on track currently are running solo, and they've got big gaps ahead and behind. And I think you're absolutely right that these ND Miatas very susceptible to the draft. They work very well in the draft. They put a big hole in the air. And if you can find a way to tuck underneath somebody, it might gain you an extra 1/10 or 2/10 as we watch John Wilson, who's just now come back to the Ray Esports Racing League after a couple weeks away. John Wilson, currently your 7th fastest driver. He puts the car around going through the chicane. We saw Morgan Burkhardt have to take to the grass to avoid, so that's going to invalidate the lap that Burkhardt was on as well. As we go back on board with Josh Soto, currently our 2nd fastest driver on track.
as he's coming down into the final couple corners here. He's looking to improve upon the 141.08 that he currently has in the books, but looking to get down to a 140.65, which is the provisional pole time set by Morgan Burkhardt here, as we have just now 3 minutes remaining in qualifying.
Yeah, not a lot of time here left for them to go, so let's see what they are able to do at this stage of the race, or the qualifying session. Doesn't look like we're going to see an improvement there for Soto, unfortunately, as things come along here. Maybe Skip Brock Jr. is going to be able to take a quick time here, but again, I just think if you're running in clean air, you're not going to get the times that we need to see. These 140s, low 141s. Skip Brock Jr. proves me wrong, jumps up to 5th place.
There you go, as Brock puts down a 141.74, and that is darn close to moving up to the next row, as Beans Forster sitting on a 141.67, or as we can see here, 141.667. So only about a tenth or so, a little bit less than a tenth, separating Brock and Forster. And we'll see if Brock can put in another flying lap, as he's currently he's provisionally on the inside of row number 3. And you know, DJ, from what we've seen at the start of the last 2 races here, and as wide as this front straight is, I don't know if there's any real advantage to being, you know, to starting on the inside line over on driver's right, or starting to the outside, other than maybe, you know, if you perhaps going deep into turn 1 from the outside and trying to run around the field, and again kind of set up over at turn 2. But I don't know from a grip level standpoint if being on the inside is really that much of an advantage.
Yeah, I'm not sure there really is all that much of one here at this point, and for a lot of these drivers, we're going to have to see what they are just able to pull out of it. I think it's really about bravery, it's about guts coming down into that first corner, who can be later onto the brakes and not lock up the tires. The grip level's not going to make that much of a difference.
No. All right, so we just noticed this moving up into 6th, and I think he got a late start on the qualifying session. Deacon Greenfield in the number 36 machine, he put down a 142.80. So currently lined up next to Skip Brock on row number 2. We'll see if he can advance. And looks like DJ, whether it's an IR04 or whether it's an MX5, Deacon Greenfield having troubles at the same portion of this track.
It just comes back to bite you. And sometimes, Greg, that happens when you're doing iRacing. You just sort of get into a mentality where you constantly think about that corner, and you constantly get thrown off by it. And that looks like that's what's happening there, unfortunately, to him.
Yeah, unfortunately, and many, many times he goes around, as we now jump on board with, believe we're watching Andrew Wozencroft in the number 80 machine. Was a little thrown off by the orange and yellow livery as opposed to the white livery we just saw him driving in the Spec Racer Fords. He is currently your 11th fastest driver, trying to improve upon a 143.21. He's got to pick up about 0.3 of a second to leapfrog Stevie Ray and move up to row number 5, but he's not going to do it that way, DJ. And
no, he's certainly not.
Yeah, and that was his last attempt, his last flying lap, as the clock has expired. As we've hit that magic 15-minute mark, we do still have a few drivers out on track. Charlie Vaccaro perhaps beating his head against the wall there. We saw him come across the yard of bricks and go right into the pit wall there. Vaccaro is going to end the session no better than 12th, as we now watch Skip Brock Jr. on his last flying lap, trying to improve on a 141.74, and he does not do it. He puts in a 142.14. He is still qualified 5th, and I believe one of our last drivers on track, Megan Overstreet, in the 044 machine. She comes across the line. Can she improve upon the 141.95 that she had in the books? No, she does not improve. Wayne Buttermore does not improve. And we're watching now here, I believe, Joaquin Effinger. And Effinger in the 700 machine, I believe, here at DJ, does just now got out into the qualifying session, so does not set a time. It looks like he's on what would be his very first flying lap. Unfortunately, he started it almost a minute after the checkered flag flew.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to get that good time in there at this point, and so that is certainly going to slow him down here in terms of trying to get his way up to the front of the field, but he'll have to see. We've got some time to go racing, 25 minutes of it, in fact.
That is the story. Here is Andrew Wozencroft, who also made it out for qualifying a little bit late, only managed to put in 2 flying laps, and he's going to run a little bit here, try to get in as much extra track time as iRacing will allow. Well, he's not allowed anymore, as he has been removed from the track. The pace car now is on the front straight, waiting for our drivers to grid up. And let's run down the starting order for our final race of the evening, DJ. On pole for Spec Miata, with a qualifying time of 1:40.653, Morgan Burkhardt. Josh Soto will start to his left on the outside of row number 2. Ryan Maloney, he'll start 3rd tonight, with Beans Forster starting in 4th. Skip Brock Jr., he's going to start 5th, and Deacon Greenfield will start in 6th.
In 7th, it's going to be Megan Overstreet, followed by John Wilson in 8th place. Then it'll be Jason Martin and Stevie Ray to round out your top 10. Andrew Wozencroft will line up in 11th, followed by Charlie Vaccaro. Then working back a little bit more, it's Wayne Buttermore and Rich Green. And then finally, to round out the field, it's Chris Montgomery and Joaquin Effinger.
All right, there is your starting field. I think we're still waiting on Jason Martin and Charles Vaccaro to make it to the grid. You know, maybe putting some fuel in, you know, maybe checking air pressures, you know, something along those lines. Here is, we'll see, going to give them a few more minutes, or maybe not minutes, but a few more moments before we roll off. But in the meantime, DJ, let's, while we wait for Mr. Martin and Mr. Vaccaro, let's talk about our sponsor for our final race of the evening here from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it's Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. Built for the true sports enthusiast, GRM has one mission, and that's to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print, or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports, take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything else this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. And of course, they also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars, and that's because hands-on technical articles aren't typed behind the desk. They're scribbled down in the garage. To not only to read, but become part of the story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. All right, so the pace car now underway here at Indianapolis. Again, on this beautiful 14-turn, 2.6-mile road course, the newest version of the road course here at Indianapolis that has been in use in one form or another since 2000, when we had the first United States Grand Prix held here in Indianapolis.
Yes, indeed, and I can tell you, I was actually at that Grand Prix, Greg. I sat right across from the Ferrari pit lane for it with my folks. It was my father's lifelong dream to wave a Ferrari flag at an F1 race. I got to be there as he did it.
I missed the first, but I saw 3 of them afterwards over at Stan J, over by right across from turn number 1. I'm trying to remember the driver that went down in the turn 1 with no front tires. And I can't remember which car it was back then, but yeah, that was actually the first year that I didn't go to Indianapolis was the ill-fated year when only 4 cars took the green, when the 4 Bridgestone machines, the Minardis and the Ferraris took the green flag, and all the Michelin boys stayed home. And I guess I picked a good year to be watching on TV.
As someone who was at that race, yes, you did.
As the pace car brings the field down now to the end of the Holman Straight, into the chicane, or the S's there, over by turn number 7, 8, and 9. Again, Morgan Burkhardt, your pole sitter. He was our winner in our second race this evening in Spec Racer Ford. And while we've got the pace lap finishing up here, DJ, let's recognize our Season 7 regular season champion as well as medal finishers. Beans Forster. Does this sound like a broken record? Beans Forster, your Spec Miata champion with 118 points, finishing 22 points back. Deacon Greenfield, he's starting on the inside of row number 3 tonight, but he came home second in the regular season championship. Murphy Nichols, a little surprised he's not here this evening. He came home with the bronze medal. Jameson Huffman, Stephen Blethen finishing 4th and 5th. Justin Huffman finishing in 6th in the championship.
Yeah, very good run up and down the championship there. As you said, a little bit surprised to not see a few names here tonight, but we are getting close to the holidays, so that's not entirely unsurprising. But we're ready to go racing here from IMS.
That's right. Pace cars on the pit lane. Burkhardt has the field as they come onto the front straight. We had a very early green flag last race. Let's see here as they make their way down. And there you go. Green flag in the air as they pass that timing tower. Morgan Burkhardt to driver's right. Josh Soto in the black and red 07 machine to driver's left. Now moving all the way up towards the wall is Ryan Maloney in the 115 machine. He may be taking my advice, try to outbrake all of them going down the outside in the 1, but it's going to be Burkhardt, your first driver in. Deacon Greenfield there actually on drive all the way up against the wall in the 36 machine. He makes up 2 positions on the start as Burkhardt leads Soto, Maloney, then Skip Brock Jr. Another good start for the number 68 machine who slots into 4th. Greenfield now falls back into 5th. And Megan Overstreet, she picks up a position. She's in 6th. Beans Forster in that 231 machine. Maybe he is trying to come to grips with the new version of the MX-5. He drops 3 positions, finds himself back in 7th.
Yeah, and almost losing a little bit there was Morgan Burkhardt getting the run wrong through 5 and 6, but able to gather that back up under him. Here goes Charlie Vaccaro trying to make it 3 wide down into turn 7. Going to be able to make that work and get out nice and cleanly.
There you go. So Vaccaro now sitting up in 10th position, having started in 12th. Andrew Wozencroft, the 80 machine, now gets around Vaccaro. But let's take a look at this as we've got Charles Vaccaro in the 221 machine as he just got it all wrong over in the chicane, and he finds himself over on the apron trying to rejoin the fray. He's going to find himself all the way back in 15th position as it appears that Jason Martin did not take the green flag.
Yeah, not entirely sure what happened here to Vaccaro as he comes down through 8 and 9, clips the grass a little bit, came too close on that apex, and that was just enough to get him a little bit thrown around.
Yeah, and the one thing that people have said since the last update to iRacing is maybe even more so than previously, the grass is like ice at most of these circuits, and you can see there he went for the ride, got into the gravel trap, impacted the wall, and we'll have to see. It looked like Vaccaro might have had some damage, and indeed he's gone down the pit lane to try and get his car repaired. As wow, look at this, Beans Forster having some problems coming off of IndyCar 2. He spins the car. He's going to find himself now all the way back in 11th position, DJ.
Back down in 11th, and saying Beans Forster's had a bit of an issue is not something we've been able to say a whole lot. I think we've got a replay of it pulled up here and ready to take a look at. I wonder here if he maybe just outbraked himself coming down into the corner. That's Megan right in front of him. A little bit of a checkup. Yeah, I think he dabbed the brakes there mid-corner. Oh, and contact there to send him spinning even more.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to check and see who that car was that got into him. And my apologies, I said coming off of IndyCar 2 is actually going down into turn number 1. But we're going to jump back to the leader. Let's take a look here. I think we've got it queued up, and we can see exactly who we have there. There's the 82 machine of John Wilson in the VRS machine. Tried to avoid the spinning 231, could not do it. Wilson now, I believe, with a good amount of damage, and I believe he may have, well, we'll have to see. He may have checked out of the session. No, he is showing is still running, but he is all the way back now in 13th.
He's going to have a lot of work to do here in the closing 25 minutes or so, trying to see what we're able to get here, as this is going to be Soto getting a little bit of a bump draft. You've got to be careful, never push the pusher going down into the corner. Burkhardt leading Soto leading Maloney right now, but that got a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, it certainly did, as we saw all the air that Maloney caught there. Now, Maloney having taken a race win during the regular season here in the MX-5s and racing out of the Washington, D.C. area, races a Spec Miata in real life, so has a little bit of a, maybe a little bit of an advantage here over Burkhardt and maybe over Soto as they come onto the home and straight here about halfway through lap number 3. Soto tucked right up behind the number 40 machine. Maloney about 3 car lengths back as they go hard under braking down into turn number 7 to go into the S's here. And Skip Brock Jr. in that number 68 machine, he's kind of lurking there, much as he did in the last 2 races. Deacon Greenfield, another couple seconds back from there, Megan Overstreet, firmly ensconced in 6th, only about half a car length off the back of Greenfield as we continue to watch this battle for the lead coming out of IndyCar 2. Now side by side, Burkhardt having to get a little defensive to hold off that run by Josh Soto. And, you know, DJ, we've seen it here in the Esports Racing League, and I've seen it in a number of other leagues as well. Josh Soto is without a doubt one of the most aggressive MX-5 Cup drivers that I have ever seen. He's only been at this now for I think 2.5 years, but he was quick right out of the box, and I don't think he necessarily thinks towards the end of the race. He wants a position and he wants it now, and he'll worry about it when he's in the lead.
Well, I mean, that's sometimes it's just the way to drive around here, and it certainly looks like he's going to be sitting pretty up in the lead of the race right now. But Morgan Burkhardt trying to put a little bit of pressure, maybe a look down into turn 4. That's a hard area to try to get a move done. And now they're going to line themselves up here for the run on to Holman Boulevard. Let's see what they're able to do, clobbering those curbs on the exit of 6.
As they move over to driver's left, and Burkhardt drafting right up to the back of the 07 machine, just as we saw Soto do with Burkhardt the lap before. Taking a quick look to the inside there is Ryan Maloney. He decides to get back in line, and now look at this, side by side going through the S's, and Morgan Burkhardt goes right around the 07 machine between turns 8 and 9 to retake the lead. That is not a move that we've seen in any of our 3 races yet this evening, well, until now.
Yeah, that's a new one for me as well. And I think, hold on, it maybe looks like Soto's going to try to go for another move there around the outside, but we're going to go back to check a look at the replay of it.
Now you can see there Burkhardt getting on the brakes very early as Soto pushed very deep, went very deep, much deeper than Burkhardt, and lost a lot of momentum through there. I think, you know, Burkhardt just took his regular line through there, and Soto outbraked himself, as we now see coming onto the front straight. Burkhardt with the lead, Soto, and now moving to the inside, Ryan Maloney. He's going to take a shot at the lead now as they come down the front straight, down towards turn number 1, and again Skip Brock, he's just sitting back there waiting with that big hole in the air. And as they come down into turn 1, bicycling over the curbing there, Ryan Maloney, he is your new leader, as Soto and Burkhardt, they are left to figure out who's going to take over second position. Soto takes it, Burkhardt now finds himself back in 3rd, and Skip Brock is officially, let's punch that card, he is now officially on the clock.
Yes, he is. So here at this point, looks like that's going to be a good one. But we're going to jump back here to Megan Overstreet and Deacon Greenfield, as they've got a nice little battle going on here for P5.
Yeah, this has been going on for quite some time here, pretty much from the drop of the green flag here. Now, I think Megan has been primarily known for her Formula Car racing and Spec Racer Ford racing, but doing quite well tonight here in the MX-5s is right behind them. We've got Stevie Ray and Andrew Wozencroft, the number 11 and the number 80 machine. Stevie Ray started in 10th tonight. Wozencroft started in 11th. They both made up 3 positions. But we're going to jump back to this fight between Greenfield and Overstreet, as Overstreet under braking makes up a little bit of ground on the number 36 machine. And I don't want to to Jinx Deacon into this section of the track, but just as I was praying that the Deacon would get through there, we saw Megan Overstreet get some of the grass on that quick little jink to the left, and she lost the rear end for a moment, and right behind her, maybe Stevie Ray was following her line. Stevie Ray goes off as well. We'll hopefully go back and be able to see exactly what happened there in a few moments, but let's jump back up to the lead, DJ, as we've got Ryan Maloney going side by side through one with Soto, who's looking to retake the lead. Again, Soto doesn't like following and running in second. He is going to attack every single time to try and take the lead, as he's done here, as Maloney and Burkhardt are left battling for second coming onto the home and straight. Let's take a look and see what happened to Stevie Ray just about a half lap ago.
All right, taking a look back at the replay here. This is coming down into turn 12. Car looks a little upset with how much he took at the curb there, but he's able to get it woed back up under him, brings the car around. Again, too much throttle there coming through. I think the rear tires just spun, and that's what sent him around.
Yeah, and right behind there, we had Andrew Wozencroft in the number 80 machine, just kept the throttle pinned, kept the wheel straight, and luckily for him, Stevie Ray spun right off directly ahead of him, and now that puts Wozencroft in that battle with Greenfield and Overstreet as well. As we jump back to the battle for the lead, as we've got Soto, we've got Ryan Maloney, and we've got Skip Brock Jr., but look at this. Morgan Burkhardt now has fallen all the way back to 4th position. Let's see what happened to Burkhardt while we were checking out that other replay.
Yeah, let's see indeed. I think here, Greg, this may have been, well, there was a slowdown up in front there for Burkhardt. That's what it was. Got too much in the corner.
Yep, there you go, as Skip Rock drives right by, and you can see Burkhardt getting into the brakes to serve that slowdown penalty. So he now finds himself in 4th position as we're starting lap number 7 here. Just about 10 minutes through this 25-minute race, and sitting up at the lead, it's Josh Soto with Ryan Maloney, Skip Brock, who doesn't seem to carry the speed through turn 1 that Soto, Maloney, and Burkhardt do. Sitting about 2 car lengths back here as they come through and onto the straight. And you know, Brock, he looks very strong coming out of the final corners, DJ, but he seems to typically, and not just in this race, I think in the first 2 races as well, we saw where he had some issues carrying speed out of turn 1, and it really affected him until he got onto the home and straight, and the draft was able to take over.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. Just seeing how that all plays itself out here. But now Morgan Burkhardt looking like he's going to be a little bit interested in this battle for the final podium position. Going to have a look to the inside here, going down through turn 10 and 11 as now they dive down. And that's going to be position gained there for Morgan. Well done.
Yeah, that was a pretty darn good move there. You saw him put his right wheels all the way to the curbing driver's left. He drove a much tighter line, and more importantly, a much shorter distance than Skip Brock Jr. did to get down to that corner. And boy, has he carried speed, as we are now 3 wide onto the front straight to complete lap number 7 to start lap number 8. And Morgan Burkhardt, he is nose up on our 2 other competitors, but we can see here as things are evening back up. Sitting to the inside, Josh Soto, latest of the 3 on the brakes. He's got inside position, but inside position not necessarily where you want to be, as Ryan Maloney to driver's left goes the long way around turn 1, but that sets him up for turn number 2, and Maloney now jumps to the lead ahead of Josh Soto. Morgan Burkhardt, he's back in 3rd. Skip Rock finds himself in 4th.
Yeah, certainly does here at this point. Let's see what Soto decides to do, though. We've seen that aggressiveness out of him, but getting a little bit of a bump draft here from Morgan Burkhardt. It looks like Burkhardt, the one that's really willing to use that fender a little bit to try to push himself forward. Obviously something that you can do to great success here in the MX-5s, as now we see them swinging their way through the corners, trying to be able to carry as much speed as possible. Let's keep an eye here on Morgan Burkhardt, see if he has another surprise move like we saw him have on that last lap. lap.
Yeah, let's see if he keeps that car tight going down the inside. Well, all three of them do, and we see Soto maybe a little bit more to the inside than Maloney, and he's going to jump down, get late on the brakes, coming into the corner. Maybe a little bit of contact between Soto and Maloney, with Burkhardt staying all the way out driver's left, and he's got to continue that very wide line to because he's got Soto there, and I think Soto might have gotten another off track, possibly. He's going to lose positions to both Burkhardt as well as Skip Brock Jr. So Skip Brock, for the first time tonight, finds himself in third position and immediately moves to the inside on Morgan Burkhardt. He has designs not on third, but on second position as they now come under braking. You see those noses drop to the ground and coming into turn number 1. And this is where we said Brock has not been the strongest. Burkhardt's able to come up right back alongside. We'll see what happens now when the track moves over for 2 corners in a row that move to the right. Skip Brock, for the moment, can he hold off Burkhardt as they go into the chicane? Yes.
Going to be able to do it. Oh, Burkhardt is just flirting with danger there. Keeps bringing that car over onto the right-hand side of turn 6, running over those curbs. I would be so concerned if I were him about picking up a slowdown penalty. Joshua Soto took a little bit of a look there down into the corner. I think that was maybe to just see if he could force Burkhardt off the line, but Burkhardt, not to be deterred, now having a look up ahead at Skip Brock Jr.
That's right, and Brock had to maybe turn in a little bit later than he wanted to, as Burkhardt had gotten right up to the very corner of Brock's car, but Burkhardt backs out just a little bit here as they come out of turn number 10 and come down once again off of IndyCar 2. And you can see there where Brock had a little poke to the inside, but Burkhardt now tries to go underneath Skip Brock Jr. as Brock Jr. was just a little bit late to turn in for that left-hander, but he's still set up to come onto the front straight. But all the while, look at Josh Soto. All right, let's do this. As Ryan Maloney has a good little lead there. Let's jump back to this battle that we've been watching just back behind our leaders, and it's Deacon Greenfield and Megan Overstreet. And for the first time, Overstreet maybe has designs on picking up the position from Deacon Greenfield. They're side by side coming down into turn number 1, and Greenfield later on the brakes than the 044. The 044 catches a lot of curbing there. Greenfield keeping it nice and tidy, but Overstreet not finished yet. She's got a nice little run through 3. Gives a lot of deference to the 36 machine. Gives him maybe a little bit more room than she needs. But now Megan Overstreet, for the moment, as they come onto the Ullman Straight here on lap number 10, she finally moves up into 5th.
Moves up into 5th, able to take that position. Little bit of a fight back, though. Let's see. And, oh, that's going to be Deacon out braking himself, and I think that's position gained over to Megan.
There you go, and this may be just what Megan Overstreet needed, as Greenfield just went too deep on the brakes to attempt that pass. Let's jump back now to the battle for the lead. Ryan Maloney still out with about a 3-car length advantage over our new second place runner, and that is Morgan Burkhardt. Both Burkhardt and Josh Soto have managed to get around the 68 car of Skip Brock, so move Brock now back into 4th here in this this great scrap here for the lead, for the Runoffs victory here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as they all come down the front straight and things will once again tighten up under the draft. But Ryan Maloney, for the 3rd lap in a row, your leader.
Yeah, Maloney doing a good job to be able to keep themselves up ahead, but we've also got another battle because Beans Forrester has now joined in this scrap between Deacon Greenfield and Megan Overstreet, as it looks like here comes Deacon down to the inside with a little bit of help there from Beans.
Yeah, Deacon goes very deep down into turn 1. Some would say too deep. And Beans goes and takes over the position to now move Beans Forster up into 5th. Again, Forster, who started 4th tonight, had that early incident here, looking to recover, and he has made back a number of positions as he had fallen all as far down as 13th position. He gets around both Greenfield and Megan Overstreet, and you know, and DJ, I think Overstreet, she may be overly cautious at this point, given the two early race incidents that she was caught up in both the IRO4, the Formula 4 race, and the Spec Racer Ford race. I think she just wants to make it to the green flag, or probably to the checkered flag, without having to take a run down the pit lane.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with you there on that. And that's one of the things when you have a multiple events night such as this, that those kind of little things can get into your head a little bit, as there was Maloney taking a big chunk of the curb down to the inside. That was pretty large.
Yeah, as Burkhardt now pulls right up behind the number 15 machine, and perhaps the only saving grace for Ryan Maloney at this point is every time Morgan Burkhardt wants to attack Josh Soto, and for that matter, Skip Brock Jr., are right there along with him to make him think twice and know that he has to defend. But now Morgan Burkhardt, he's going to draft past the 15 machine. He's going to be a little bit later on the brakes than Maloney. Then Josh Soto, he's going to stay in third, and so Burkhardt now overtakes Maloney for the lead, as we now have just about 6 minutes remaining in this 25-minute race. And I keep thinking back, DJ, that the 20-minute time limit that we have on the regular season esports races, we'd be looking at the very last lap now, but we've got at least another 2, possibly 3 laps here to go from Indianapolis.
And thank goodness for that, because I don't want any of this racing to die away, as here comes Joshua Soto trying to make that look on Maloney, going down into 7. Contact!
Contact, and Maloney goes into the grass and into the wall, and Ryan Maloney's race is now done as he gets the tow back to the pit lane. That is going to move Morgan Burkhardt up to the lead, Soto into second. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened there.
I think this may have been a little bit of side-by-side contact that could have potentially forced Maloney out onto the grass, but let's take a look there. Soto in that red machine up from above. You know what? There was no contact. We called that wrong. He just got the braking zone wrong.
Yeah, I think he went and pulled the car right rather than getting into the back of Morgan Burkhardt, and unfortunately it ends his race here with only about 5 minutes remaining, about 4 laps left to go in this race. Morgan Burkhardt is your leader. Josh Soto in second. Skip Brock Jr., he's been around 2 races in a row. He sits in third as Josh Soto now takes a look to the inside of Morgan Burkhardt as they come down into turn number 1. Burkhardt later on the brakes, but as they come through turn 1, they do it door to door, side by side. Burkhardt, the driver's left. Soto, as the track moves back to 2 right-handers in a row, he's going to have the advantage as they now come through turn number 4 and go into that chicane. Josh Soto, he is your new leader.
Yeah, Soto now going to be holding it out, but I don't know for how long here, as Morgan Burkhardt got a great run there coming off of 5 and 6, and is going to have a look to what will be the outside going into the left-hander of 7.
And Soto, he's going to stay to the inside, almost by necessity there to defend, as Burkhardt has the outside. Burkhardt's a little bit later on the brakes and gets a little loose coming through the first portion of the S's there, but he's got a nose up as they continue side by side. Skip Brock must be going, what can I do here? There is nowhere to go. He almost tries to slot his nose in right underneath. Now let's see what Burkhardt does. He's in position to come all the way down the inside. Again, that will be a shorter run than Josh Soto has to get down into the braking zone. But Burkhardt, he's got 2 drivers to the left that he has to contend with. And look at that, Burkhardt with a brake lock up there. I think if he didn't lock up the brakes, he probably would have gotten right into the back corner of the 07 machine, DJ.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with you there. And now that's going to set up a little bit of a run here for Skip Brock Jr. Burkhardt and Jr. going to be very, very close as they run. Here it is. Are we going to see a bump draft? No, we're going to see a move to the inside. Maybe a little bit of a tuck up behind there for Skip Brock Jr. And now Joshua Soto recognizing what's going on and trying to give a draft to his counterparts.
That's right. He moves over perhaps to protect, but also to maybe draft and get Skip Brock Jr. a little bit further alongside Morgan Burkhardt. Does not work, though, as they come down into turn 1. Soto maintains the lead. Burkhardt in second. Then we've got Skip Brock Jr. And I was just watching in the background there. There's still about, I'd say about 25, 30 car lengths back. But Beans, Forster, and Deacon Greenfield, along with Megan Overstreet, great battle that they are having right now just off the podium. in fourth, and you can see that battle for the lead up ahead. And as we jump back to the battle here, it is Soto to driver's left. It is Burkhardt to driver's right as they come under braking once again into the S's side by side.
Yes, indeed, as we just keep saying that time and time again, and it keeps happening time and time again. Burkhardt going to be the one to hold on to it at this point as we ride on board with Joshua Soto. Soto trying to close in behind. I don't think he's going to be close enough here at this point to really have a run going down into turn 12, but let's see what he can do.
And Burkhardt staying all the way, not all the way, but he stays over to driver's right just a little bit longer than normal to protect the line going into the corner. He's going to hold off the 07 for the moment as they come through the final corners and complete their 14th lap, as we have only a minute and 10 seconds remaining. White flag will be in the air for Morgan Burkhardt as he, Josh Soto, and Skip Brock Jr. cross the yard of bricks for what should be our very last lap here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Ray Esports Runoffs. Now, Burkhardt moving Soto all the way down to the white line driver's right as they come into turn number 1, and Burkhardt moves all the way back over driver's left, carries a little bit more speed than Soto. Soto, who gets loose coming through turn number 2, has to gather back up. Skip Brock not able to do anything with it, but as they come out of turn number 4 and go into the S's, Burkhardt now with a car length advantage coming onto the home and straight.
He's going to have to try to hold this out here. I think the battle right now going into 7 is going to be for P2. Skip Brock Jr. looks like he wants to maybe try to have a little bit of a move on Joshua Soto. There it is. Soto going a little bit defensive, but Skip Brock Jr. has a little bit more speed. Later on the binders is the 68, but they're still going to be side by side.
There we go, and as Skip Brock Jr. attempts to take second place away from Josh Soto, that gives a little bit of clearance to Morgan Burkhardt just when he wants it, just when he needs it, as they come out of the S's onto the oval. And now with Josh Soto and Skip Brock almost 3 car lengths back from the number 40 machine, Burkhardt just has to keep his head down. Not gonna give him the win right here. There is still time for the 07 and for the 68 to make up the ground, but just when he needed second and third to start fighting, they did. And as they come onto the oval, Morgan Burkhardt, he's got the lead. There you go. You can see it. The checkered flag is in the air, and taking his second win of the evening, Morgan Burkhardt is your Spec Miata Runoffs champion. Josh Soto, he'll come home in second. Skip Brock will come home in third. Beans Forster, our regular season champion, he comes home just off the podium in fourth. Megan Overstreet, she gets around Deacon Greenfield to come home in fifth. Greenfield finishes in sixth. And I believe we've got 3 runners remaining. Andrew Wozencroft brings the number 80 machine home in 7th position. Then Wayne Buttermore, Stevie Ray, the last of our runners on track, should, well, actually, I take that back. He's not the last. I think Chris Montgomery may be the last here as they come onto the front straight. There is the 73 of Buttermore. Stevie Ray going to finish right behind in 9th. All right, so DJ, what a race. What a way to wrap up the runoffs.
What a race indeed. You've got to love to see it if you are a racing fan, and I can't imagine a better way to end the runoffs and end the season.
All right, well, let's see here. We know we've got Morgan Burkhardt. He is sitting in the green room. We'll wait to see if some other drivers come in, but in the meantime, let's talk to our runoffs Spec Miata champion, Morgan Burkhardt.
Morgan, you were able to hold on there through the battles, through the craziness. Absolutely incredible. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun from the drop of the green flag. We were pretty much just fighting it out side by side. Not really any, like, kind of strategies, let's run away from the field. That kind of just happened, and then we just kind of had some fun and just went back and forth over and over again.
Well, talk to me about that last lap a little bit. How overjoyed were you to see Soto and Brock kind of duking it out for second place and frankly relieving some pressure off of you?
Well, that happened to be kind of my plan. Is I wanted to be in the lead going into the last lap so I could control what happened in turn 1. And I noticed that the outside line seems to be working a little bit better, especially if you could try and pinch the inside driver towards the apex. They could get a slower run. So my plan was to kind of slow Josh up and maybe give Skip an opportunity to go side by side, and it worked. And I was able to get a good enough gap, and then kind of just relaxed for the rest of the lap and didn't really take any risks. So it was very good that I get a little bit of a gap.
Very good indeed. I would most certainly have to say so. And I know you already gave some shout outs, but anybody you missed, anybody else you want to thank here before we let you go tonight?
All of the team that showed up tonight to kind of have a little bit of fun. It's always a good time here in the Ray. It's I don't know. It's difficult to just say other than it's a good time, but it's always pretty clean, and we have some good races. I'd like to thank Stevie and Greg for putting on the league, and of course the broadcasting team for making it all look good.
Well, trust me, you make our job very, very easy when you put on races like that, Morgan.
Well, good.
All right, that was Morgan Burkhardt, your victor here today in the MX-5s.
All right, thanks so much to Morgan. And let's bring in, we've got him sitting in the green room, and hopefully he'll have some information about season number 8. It's Stevie Ray, the Ray in Ray Esports Racing.
Well, Stevie, great to welcome you up here to the booth. Thank you for a fantastic season. It's got to feel good seeing all of this action in your leagues.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I say, every time it's the guys on track that make it such a good league. Appreciate everybody coming out week after week. I'm not usually able to make it on Tuesday nights, so they make the league what it is, but appreciate them. It's a lot of fun watching it and catching up with it.
Well, I certainly have to imagine. How were your runoffs here tonight? Did you feel you did well? Obviously a little bit farther down to the field than I think you would have liked to have been, but seemed like a good time out there for you.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. The F4, I got a 4th, I think, or something, 5th. Better than I expected, but that was attrition. The Spec Ford, I would have liked to have done better. This one, I never got a good handle on the MX-5, and I kept going off at the last chicane there before the straight, and you get out in that green stuff, and I think iRacing painted snow green because it was slicker than you know what out there. You couldn't get back to the track.
Well, that's pretty much what we've been hearing from everybody across the board, that it's just been so slick out on the grass. But do you have anything planned for next season? Can we see the league back? What are your plans going forward?
Oh, yeah, we'll be back. We typically take about a 3-week break between leagues, between seasons. So we're going to have some fun stuff set up for those 3 weeks, try some different cars and track combos and stuff. Expect to see the leagues kick up somewhere around the end of January, 1st of February. So we might have a slight change in the classes a little bit, but that's to be determined yet. So stay tuned.
Well, we will stay tuned indeed. Stevie, thank you so much for putting these leagues on. It is an absolute pleasure and one of the things that I most look forward to every week.
Well, thanks, DJ. Appreciate the thoughts there, and you and Greg and Jonathan do an awesome job up there every week. Got to thank our sponsors, Grassroots Motorsports for this one, Alliance Autosport for the F4, and Spec Racer Sports for the Spec Fords. They make it possible to pay you guys and get these broadcasts so our guys can share it with family and friends. I heard it was beer, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Adult beverages, yeah. But I appreciate all the sponsors we have, all the drivers on track, and you guys as well. So.
Well, we are more than happy to be a part of it, like I said. Stevie Ray, your series organizer here tonight, without which none of this would be possible.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, there you go. Thanks so much to Stevie Ray, and again, also thanks to Greg Hubler, another one of our series administrators. Well, actually, we have a number of administrators, and before I name all of them, because there are about 50 of them. No, actually, that's not true. There are a handful, though. Want to thank everybody behind the scenes that's involved with making sure that the Ray Esports Racing League runs so smoothly on track, and makes DJ's job, makes my job, makes Jonathan Grabowski's job so much easier when we step into the booth on a Tuesday evening. But as Stevie Ray said, we're going to be taking a couple weeks off from our broadcasts. Going to have some fun races on queue for our drivers, so they can maybe test out some changes that Stevie Ray mentioned that we might see for season number 8. So if you go ahead and you subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell, like that segue, you'll be able to find out the next time we're broadcasting the Ray Esports Racing League. So for DJ Clark, for Jonathan Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and hopefully we'll see you in just a few weeks here on Apex Racing TV. Have a great holiday season, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and we'll see you in January.